Hey, there we go. You can hear me now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Saturday. Hope you're all doing well. A little bit rattled by that microphone turning itself off by then. Hopefully it's charged. Yeah, it's charged. Anyway, a little technical problem at the start, but no big deal. Very small group of you so far, which is understandable because today is Synth Fest in the UK, so there's quite a lot of the UK segment of people probably wouldn't be here. If you are in the UK though, and you've not gone to Synth Fest, thanks for being here. And we may, if we're lucky, we may get a live cross. We'll see how we go today with a few hopeful promises. Bearing in mind, I'm streaming from Australia, so really can't do much about stuff in the UK. Let's have a quick look at the chatties here, and I'll talk to you about what's going on this week. Chatties button is that one. We have a very small segment today. Sim was first. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, where it is in your part of the world. Merbit was second. Future World Machine, one of our channel members also being very special members. He was third, so a big hello to Future World Machines. And Eddie's there, F-Rose, or Froze if you want to call it. Roy is there, big hello to Roy. Addo Z's there, big hello to you, mate. Path Lakes there, hello to you. Wagoo, of course, can't have a show without Wagoo. How's it going, Daniel? Awesome to have you, mate. And that is it until Mac jumps in and says, hey, with a YouTube play button. Big hello to you, mate. How's life in your new land that you're living in? Cresshead's jumped in. Big hello to you, mate. Culture of Ghosts and Martin Taylor's jumped in as well. Awesome, awesome. Nice to have you guys. We have we'll have a guest. We'll have a video guest today, so don't worry about that. We definitely are going to probably not have the usual amount of people on the stream, I would say. And judging by YouTube's numbers, it's a small gathering. It's a small gathering. But yeah, what have we got happening today? Well, no topic again, and I kind of like the no topic idea for the moment, because if I haven't got something singular that I want to bite my teeth into for the show, I will launch a whole bunch of topics. And this show is actually always full of lots of topics, especially when you hang around. At the start of the next hour, you'll have all our regular segments like Funny Side, that's news, a little bit of news today, some price watch auctions to look at, which will be pretty cool. There is a Name That Synth as well this week, so don't be disappointed, it will be definitely here. But in front of me is the S2400 from Isla Instruments. You might be looking at it thinking, hey, there's an S2400. And if you didn't notice it, well, there it is. And I don't know, I haven't really been given this thing much attention. And let's get the cab off the rank. Very, very new to me, this thing, in a lot of respects. Okay, so what is this and why have I got it? Well, it's a sampler, and it's based on the SP1200, which was an EMU Systems sampler back in the day, and they were very, very iconic. And what was iconic about them were the pads and the sliders, and this thing definitely has delivered in that. But what Isla have done with this thing is they have, modernized it to, I guess, a point where it doesn't creep too much away from its heritage. So we can't expect it to be a DAW. We can't expect it to not be a sampler. So when you take that into consideration, you do realize this has actually got a lot of power in it. There's a few things that I'm not gelling with, and that's nothing to do with the criticism to Brad and his team, or even the original design of the SP1200. It's more just a personal thing. Like for me, I'm a bit nerdy when it comes to sample players, because at the end of the day, there's two jobs that a sampler does. It plays samples and it also samples. And when it comes to sampling, it does a really, really good job. The only criticism, I guess, will be the tiny little screen here, right? And it's not too bad. It's, it's not too bad. It's not like tiny, tiny where you can't read it. Nice and bright, and definitely you can see the text on it, and it's definitely not too small, but it's tiny. And when you're doing some of the things in this, which is quite complex, that tends to be a little bit disappointing. And I just think there would have been space in this. This is huge, this thing. This thing is, you know, let's give you guys an appreciation of how big this thing is. And if I've got a ruler here? No, I don't have a ruler here. I do have a ruler here. I've got a 20 centimeter, really bizarre looking ruler that I can rip off this thing. Actually, why don't I just do it that way? So there is 20 centimeters there, right, to that point, and then another 20 centimeters to there, so that's 40 centimeters, and then another 3 or 4 centimeters, so 44, 43 centimeters, somewhere around there in terms of width. So it's pretty big, and it's actually quite thick, so the actual unit itself is quite chunky, as you can see there, but also built so tough. Like these metal plates, you can see the thickness of these metal plates. Very heavy, very strong. The pads feel amazing. So yeah, let's assign some sounds to it. And I don't know if we've got it plugged in, so we need to check that. So you can see there, no sounds. Let's assign some sounds to it. So we'll go SD card. I'll grab some samples. Let's put that on there. Okay, do we have any sound? What are we doing with sound? What is this coming into? Hang on a sec, let me work out my bearings here. That is going into number 3. Why not getting sound? Why don't we... I can't remember why I'm not getting sound on this thing. Level. Definitely sound there. Okay. There we go. That didn't have any volume. There we go. Let's assign that sound. There we go. That's an Alesis HR16. We've got effects going in the background. Anyway, so in terms of the sampler, this thing is, you know, pretty decent, 16 bits there. Yeah, nothing sort of groundbreaking, I don't think, in that sense. But for me, I don't know, like, this thing's built for you to sequence the samples, right? So it's got 4 banks of 8, so you've got 32 tracks on this, 32 sample tracks. It's also, I believe it's 16 voice as well, which is, if you want to use this as a polyphonic type sample player, that could possibly be a thing of, and all of these filters across here are analog, so they're using Curtis filter chips, or are they SSM? I can't remember anymore. It's an analog filter anyway. But in terms of, for me, I want more than just these live controls. So filtering is a live control, level of course, pitch, which is very important. Envelope controls are important as well. Looping and slicing is definitely important, and you can, how do we get into that? There. That's how we get into the looping and slicing. This is just off memory. I need to get the manual out. And you can muck around with that. What else? There's multi-mode. Now, multi-mode is kind of like, it puts all of these things for the one pad that you're on across here. So this will be level. No, this will be pitch. Turn that off, multi-mode. Anyway, multi-mode has a feature which I have to look into. I think actually is envelope controls and stuff like that on there, and bank is to do with surfing through your banks. Okay, so there's Just getting messages here. So, okay, so what is it that I'm kind of disappointed about it? And it's not because this doesn't deliver. It's just that I would want something like this in a sampler to have like a live control. So there's one thing missing, and that is the ability for this to do reverses. Like just literally grab the sample and flip it, and then flip it back. And then without having to load that sample into a different track spot and flip it and use that, it'd be cool if you could do that just in one. So that the way you get around it is you load it into the second track, and then you've got the same sample, and the second track is flipped, and you play with that. I like some samplers which let you flip or reverse, and one that does it, for example, is the MPC. And it's nothing against the S2400 at all. It's just something that I think is missing. And the MPC can do it. So if I was to grab, let's say, where are we? I thought we had sound on this thing. Oh, we've gone to part 2 for some reason. Hang on. We're on audio track. Why are we on an audio track here? Ah, okay. There we go. I've hit something. All right, so here.
Telling me, Dream.
Right. We heard that from last week. This is what I'm launching on my show.
Telling me.
This is the MPC. So let's get the camera onto this, and I'll show you what I mean. So if I go to, what camera is this? This camera? And let's move it into the MPC here. That's not the MPC. This is very hard to control this. Here we go. There's the MPC, guys. All right, so it's just right next to me, and you'll see my hand in a sec. Okay, so it's not the best view. You can see my remote controlling that. But if I click on that pad,
Telling me, Dream.
and then I click on Warp Samples there,
Telling me, Dream.
right, I can straight away click Warp and Reverse. I don't know why that's playing so quick. Ah, BPM, that's why. We'll put that back to something reasonable. Oh, we're on 128. Right, and then turn it off.
Telling me, Dream.
Back on. And it's that easy. And then, you know, that is very, very quick and dirty on just being able to reverse a sample. Whereas back onto the S2400, if I wanted to reverse that, I can. I have to edit the sample and do that in here through the screen. And yes, it's easy. You can assign it to another pad. We already went through that. So that's just one little thing. But that is just me mucking around with this for a few hours over the last few days. And yeah. Now let's have a quick look at what you guys have been saying. We'll catch up with you. All right. So small screens are better, says Future World Machines. Yeah, but if you look at the difference between, so if I go to this view here, right? There's the MPC screen, right? And there is the S20. So you can see my hand as a reference. So what are we talking about? Size of the screen. I think these are 7-inch or something. What are these? So that's a 10cm wide screen versus a 5.5cm wide. So it's double the size. And obviously there's a lot more real estate on that screen that you can do. So not a massive thing, but I just kind of find a bigger screen better. I do need to check to make sure I've got the right glasses on. I do. Yep, we're good. Cool. Where are we? Herbert's left. Daylight savings. Daylight savings in your world. What's the deal with that? Daylight savings already. It's October. Have you guys had daylight savings start? Let us know. Oh, excuse me. Let us know if you had daylight savings in your world already. That's bizarre. That's bizarre. That's bizarre. So, yep. See you later, Merbit. Qubit Nautilus looks experimental. Okay. Nothing's thick under my desk. Maybe my brain. Yeah, anyway. MPC1, Cresshead's happy. Yeah, I'm happy with the MPC Live. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do with this S2400 yet. Yeah, not really sure. Let's get a different sound on here. Let's get a clap, a cowbell, a toot. Yeah, let's do the toot, the Jean-Michel Jarre toot sound. Yeah, easy to load samples in. That's one thing I do like about this. It's very, very quick. And it's easy to make kits, very, very quick. So there's some really, really big pluses with that sort of stuff. Kev Human says he's just bought the Waldorf Blofeld. Good work. It's a great synth. What are the chances that the encoders need replacing? Most studio people, if it's been in the studio, most people would be pretty careful with it. But I have heard that you may have to replace the encoders. And if you do, it is a bit of a job. You'd have to get your soldering iron out type thing. Yeah, the RX5. It had the reverse button on the drum machine. That was cool. And there's a few that have been like that. I think I can think of like Electrobes having reverse, which is handy. What do we got? I don't want to lose my spot. Where are we? Talking about screen sizes. Look, let's not define my thoughts on this. Let's not define my thoughts on this thing about screen size, because that is definitely not a problem. That's not the worst screen size I've seen. Absolutely not. So yeah. But anyway, loading samples in, easy. You can just press the pad, assign the sound. So now we've got. Let's turn those effects off. All right, let's get some. Oh, this will be. So. Okay, let's do that there. And let's do that there. All right, so we got. Let's turn the level of that down a bit. All right, cool. So it's pretty easy to set up a set. And then once you've done that on this, you've got banks. Banks. Lots of banks. Tony Banks. Exit. So banks, bank. Oh, bank A, B, C, D, E, MIDI, F MIDI, A. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times 8, 32, and then 2 MIDI banks. Pretty cool. That's a lot of samples in here that you can play with. In that sense, that's killer. So in terms of sequencing and in terms of loading samples, in terms of controlling the playback of those samples with the analog filters and all that sort of stuff, this is killer. This is really, really cool. I'm going to be definitely enjoying that. I think in terms of sample manipulation, I kind of think this is winning. This is not the best sample manipulator. The best sample manipulator you can get is a computer. So they're getting close, these things. But yeah. CV Gate. Yeah, it's a great question. Does it do CV Gate, says Eddie. On the back of this thing, by the way, Andy's just rocked up. On the back of this thing, it has these connections. So let's go full screen on that sucker. I'll bring you in a sec, Andy.
No problem.
Upside down, all the electrons are going to fall out, all right? Do not worry, just turn your head upside down. So there's clock. There's MIDI. These are audio inputs. These are phono, turntable type inputs. But forget, this is based on an original SP1200, okay? So did the SP1200 have CV connectivity? The answer is, drum roll, no, okay? So, did you think this needs CV gain? I don't think so. It does have MIDI. And then, what a lot of people don't forget, a lot of people who have MIDI control, they can do this. They can go and get themselves a module like that, right? That one there, the FH2 by Expert Sleepers, or any other module that converts MIDI into control voltage, and then you have solved your problem. Let's get Andy. Andy, what corner do you want? Pick a corner.
Oh, it's an embarrassment of riches. You pick.
I am going to pick top right. Is that top right? All right. What's top right? That one. Okay, here we go. Now let's see if I get this right this time. You are coming in on 3. No, you must be coming in on 2. Are you coming in on 2? Ah, there you are. Okay, cool. At least I didn't put your title up. Let's see if your title works. You're coming in on 2? Oh, he's got that bit right. Yay. How are you, mate? You good?
Hey, it worked.
We're professional here.
Here, Jimmy, like
See, even reversing that. Professional.
telling me he's dreaming.
You make me feel bad. You're playing with a fun toy that I left in a box for months and months and months.
I know. I did the same. Well, not in a box. I left it in my studio, basically.
I literally played it like maybe 6 times since I've owned it, which is really sad. Because
Yeah.
I'm an early adopter.
So. I'm an early adopter too. I mean, you probably remember when I got mine because I would have announced it on the show. And so I got mine with, the pre-ordering thing that he had set up originally. And I was probably...
Yeah, $950. What a bargain, right?
Yeah. Anyone who gets it now will not be getting it at that price. And they don't, and he can't make them at that price anymore anyway. The amount of materials costs and stuff that he's had to endure. But yeah. So the point I've got is that this is a too much gear syndrome issue for me. Probably the same for you. And I'm not going to shy away from it.
Always.
Yeah. I really want to get to know this thing, because every time I look at it and every time I see one of Alex Ball's videos, or Brad talks about it on Facebook or whatever, like I got to get it, I got to plug it in, I've got to do more with it. And I have to admit, it is a learning curve. So don't expect this thing to be, you're going to be able to sequence samples on this really, really quickly, which I think is a testament to how EMU originally built these machines. But anything sort of more complex, it's a massive learning curve, like any machine. I mean, MPCs took me, I got my MPC in 2017. What are we now, 2022? I'm still learning the thing. So these things are learning curves. I actually get envious of people that get really good at things really quick, because I think, how does your brain work? I want some of that. Give me some of that DNA in your brain. Yeah.
And here we are talking about gas, and I just got the deal on the Korg sequencer this week. So if it's still up there, take advantage of it.
Yeah, I looked at
on the SQ64. So.
I looked at it. Even as we'll talk about this a bit later. I looked at it even as let's post it from the US. and I would have saved probably about $100 Australian, which is, you know, what, $70 US, right? Which is tidy. It's not. If someone said to you, you can save 70 US, you'd probably go, that's pretty tidy. It's a pretty tidy saving. It's not an expensive item. I think the price that they're selling for now...
It's built like a tank. I mean, I'm shocked. It's really sturdy. So,
well, that's the thing. I've actually had to play with one in a store. That I think the price that they're selling for at 40% off is probably the price that it should be RRP.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I don't think it's worth that what they're normally selling it for. What is that? Is that 400 or something? 500?
Well, right now it's close to a Keystep Pro, and the Keystep Pro does way more. So.
Yeah, that's the point. And also, there's a few people complaining about the SQ64, saying that there's some unfinished firmware on it, and I'd like to dig into that a little bit today. So, if anyone's got some links that can prove that to me, because I've been reading in social media people saying it's got unfinished firmware. What's that? What's unfinished about it? So you've got one now. I mean, obviously you've only just got it.
Like timing issues or something, or what?
I don't know. What's unfinished about it? Like, why would Korg do that? So that's interesting to hear people say that, and it's not the one person that said it. It's been a few people. It's not the first time Korg have done that, though. Korg have put stuff out with, like Volca's a prime example with unfinished firmware. You know, Volca FM, perfect example. You know, with the velocity. I mean, that was just stupid. I mean, the DX7 had the velocity in it. They're making a Volca about the DX7, and it didn't have the velocity. You know, it had a velocity that you had to adjust on the slider.
Yeah. They fixed that on the 2, right? Isn't the Volca?
They fixed it on the 2, yeah. Yeah, and there was a guy called Pagan who did a hack firmware for the Volca FM version 1 that you could get, which also fixed it. Yeah. Which I found interesting. Like, it took a guy to hack it to fix it. Do you know what I mean? So
look at the Electro hacks guys have. The ER1 and the other ones have hacks that are
There's
really
some
cool. So.
brilliant hacks on those ER1s, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, they turned them into some really interesting machines. Anyway, so I've kind of, this show is definitely not a review or demonstration about this. This is just, I've just brought this out in my studio. I'm just having to play with it for now. And one of the first things, like I was saying earlier to the guys, that I noticed about it is that you can't reverse a sample without editing the sample. And I kind of feel like Electrobes had that right, didn't they? The Electrobe 2, you could reverse a sample really easily. And, you know, it became a performance thing, right? So maybe we've just been spoilt by some of the other companies, and I don't know. I feel like reversing a sample is almost sample 101, right? It should be a.
So there's not a quick reverse button? I haven't noticed that on the.
No. So they've got these A and Bs, right? And these A and Bs do a lot. They primarily in performance mode are to do with the filter. So there's 2 different types of filters on this. Mm-hmm. And there's also, like you'll notice here, you've got playback override off and playback override on. So you can parametric, you know, any of the effects, you can set them parametrically across the sequence. But then you can have these playback override, and you can see the light turning on here, right, when it's on and when it's off, and it's giving you visual feedback here. So that means that it's not adhering to what it's doing as a modulation source in the sequence. You're then actually manually doing it. One thing I do like is how it's got the cutoff in the middle and the resonance as the lower. So that's good space saving. And that's, I'm actually kind of, I like that. I don't feel like I'm going to hit that accidentally. And even if I felt like I was going to accidentally hit that, I would just turn it off. And then whatever I did to it didn't do anything, right? And if I wanted to play it, I'd have the light on. I could see visually, yep, that's now on, and whatever I do to it. So,
are you going to buy the upgrade card he announced?
Yeah, the little DSP card, because it gives me more analog stuff. because it's going to have the daughter board for more analog stuff, as well as the DSP stuff. And I feel that it's a relatively inexpensive thing when you consider the scheme of things of what it will open this machine up to be. Yeah, definitely. Don't know when it's going to happen though. Yes. Yeah, in terms of Future World Machines, just set it in the chat. I'll just add it to the queue here. Just wait for that to turn up. You'll see it down below on the little green bubble. It should open in about 10 seconds. He said, and we quote, I bet the S2400 is really good at chopping up breaks. And what he means by that is you can actually, like as you sample, you can do it on an MPC as well, but as you sample, you can bring, you know, your slices in, right? You're chopping up breaks, that's what you're doing. You're slicing your sample in. This is really, really good at, and as you get to know how this user interface works, the sliders and the pads, once you're actually doing like live sampling, which is this up here, right? Once you're doing that, you can actually really quite quickly bring stuff in. And there's a few tricks. I mean, this still has the tricks that the 1200 has, plus it's got 32 tracks, right? So instead of 8. So you can do the tricks, like for example, you can have a longer sample, right? That has like a whole bunch of different drum beats, drums, percussive sounds and stuff in that one sample. And then you can then move to those different parts of that sample through the slicing. So you can still do that on this, but do you need to? You got 32 tracks. So yeah.
There's that old trick too with the volume where you can have different volume levels on the pads. As you go down, you get the kind of a fade effect,
so the multi-mode, the multi-mode there. Set that, like something like that. So you can get that kind of, it's kind of a little bit like velocity in a sense, but that sort of deal. A lot of people ask me, what do these feel like? And I mean, are these like, you know, if you're looking at a mixer or these are a DJ sort of slider. And if that makes sense to people, they'll know what I'm talking about. So if you've ever used turntables with sliders on them, that's the feedback that you're getting on those, like a Technics or that sort of level. So you can flick them, right? You can definitely flick them.
And it's not as loose as one of those XY faders, the 1 and 2 faders, but it's still pretty loose. Yeah, I actually like it. I think, you know, you get to wherever you want to really quickly with that if you wanted to. So yeah, like if you were on a level, you see the visual feedback here. It has that catch-up thing too. So on the screen here, like some synth designers have that catch-up thing. You can see how I'm moving the slider and you can see it moving here over, right? So if I flick it, it's pretty responsive. Definitely not an issue there. Anyway, what was I thinking? Okay, yes. So the other thing that came up in chat on Discord during the week, and guys, if you're wondering, we talk about Discord all the time. I know, and there's probably not a lot of people in here right now that care. But there's a Discord server. If you haven't availed yourself to free, ad-free, non-commercialized way of social media, Discord is a pretty cool platform. I don't think Microsoft have bought them or anything like that yet, so still a pretty good platform. And jump on there if you want. We do chat during the week. One of the things we're chatting about during the week is, you might remember when I showcased the phaser module from Dreadbox, and we had that terrible noise come out of it. You guys remember that? How it was very noisy and everyone was saying, oh, that sounds terrible, that's noisy. Well, I actually worked out that's a user problem, not a module design problem. And to give you a bit of proof, the actual module is plugged in right now and you guys can hear it. If you really listen carefully, I'll shut up in a sec, but you can see the level is actually, or if I move that cable out the way, you can see the level's almost maxed. And if you listen carefully, you can hear it. I don't reckon you can hear it. I can just hear it, and I'm listening locally. So over a stream, don't think you're going to hear it. Now, the issue I had was whilst when you're streaming, you kind of lose track of what you're doing sometimes. You get a bit muddled in your brain. I had the Mix BX up here. I had the gain set up too high. That's all it was. So the gain, if you look here, is set to the minimum now. There's no gain. So this, if you're wondering about this mixer, these are based on the Boss BX mixers that came out, the BX8s. BX8s? 8BX? Whatever they were. And you can overdrive these preamps here on the inputs. And I had that really pumped up. So if I was to go over there now and turn that up, you'll hear noise. There it is again. See? And that's what I did. So to prove that there's no noise, but you can still hear the phaser effect, let's get sounds off. What can we do here? Just give me a sec. Send that to the peak. All right, here we go. I'll just mute this actually. So you can hear the phaser, right? I'll put some more. Nothing wrong with that phaser. User error. CV. User error. There you go. That's what it was. So that, yeah. So I apologise if I've caused Dreadbox a bit of pain, but it was definitely user error. And I did say I think at the time it could have been something I've done. So yeah, that is behaving. Look, it's still got a noise floor, but you'll probably find most. You can hear it now. Because I turned up the channel a bit. You probably find most phasers will have a noise floor on them. So, you know, life is like that. Now, what does that sound like if I was to pipe that through the Moog? I think I've got the Moog plugged in. Let's try that. Now. How am I going to do that? He says, how am I going to do that? All right, we can definitely do it. We can definitely do it, people. We just need perseverance and determination and a bit of fancy patching. Let's go into here. Oh God, I'm running out of space. Is that cable going to be long enough? Yeah. All right. We'll go into here. We'll come out of there. And we'll turn you off. We don't need you. All right. Let's try this now with a Moog. Is that turned on? So, I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's not like it's so vastly different that you would go out and rush out and spend thousands of dollars on a Mogofogo. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think you can achieve a phaser effect with the Dreadbox. And how much is a Dreadbox module? 70 pounds or 100 US or something? 90 US? They're pretty cheap. So I think we've definitely proven that. Now I'm going to keep up on the chatties. Still searching for the perfect sequencer, says Wagoo. I think the perfect sequencer really is probably in the Ranger. That's probably the perfect sequencer. If we're to sort of, because that will handle all of our inadequacies, right? When you just arrange your music after you've already sequenced stuff and punched it all together. Cresshead, you're absolutely right. Synth Fest is on today. Lots of people are in the UK going to that. But this show is not just the UK. I'm streaming from Australia. Andy over there, he's in the US. And we've got two other people who have turned up without me looking and didn't say a word. Like they just turn up. These guys would probably just sneak into your kitchen and steal your food, I reckon, if they got a chance anyway. They're not going to get past my dog though. But these are the other two guys that have just rocked up. And there is one person who actually couldn't give a flying toss about Synthfest because he is in the UK and he's right below me, and that's Darren. No, I'm just kidding. Are you going, Darren?
Aye, not bad. Can you hear me?
We can. And we've also got Henrik, who is, as a lot of us would know, is from Denmark. So it would be a bit hard for him to go to Synthfest in the UK. Well, not impossible.
It won't be that hard.
It's not
impossible. I could have gone. You
could drive there. You could still drive there. There's a tunnel now, so they tell me there's a tunnel. You're muted, and it's not me. So a lot of people are talking about the Hapax. The Squarp Hapax is something to poke your eyes at for a sequencer. I think we talked about it when it was originally launched as either a product that's going to be made or something. I'm not sure at what stage we talked about it, but I haven't actually had a chance to check it out since then. So the Pyramid was really the big Squarp thing, wasn't it?
How's the audio now?
Yes, good. Working.
Okay.
Yeah. Now your mic sounds better this week. Have you done some magic?
Yes, I quit the wireless mic, the head mic, and this is the cam mic.
Okay. Well, it's better than the head mic. Yeah. I mean, it still sounds like you're talking in tin can, but it's not as bad, like by a long shot. So, yeah.
But I'm still working on it, so this is only temporary.
Yes, indeed. Now, did you message me and I ignore you? What did you say? Okay. Yeah, I did see that. All right, cool. So in terms of today, Darren, you're holding up the UK side of the team. I think it's mighty big of you to do that, and it must be killing you inside that you can't go down to Synthfest. I don't actually think you want to go.
No.
I'm not sure.
Well, yeah and nay. It was one of those. It was a sort of bit of rush thing to do it, and it was like, yeah. And in the end, time just got away from you. So I in one way I want to go, in another way I'm not over worried.
How much of a journey is it for you? Is it a 4-hour drive, 5-hour drive, or a train?
No, it's I don't know. It depends on the traffic. Probably a couple of hours.
So it's not like
the traffic.
It's not massive.
It's not massive, no.
Yeah.
But by the time I've done stuff, it's like, do I want to rush over there? Sort of, maybe not. I've not got any money, and just seeing things is just going to make me go, oh God.
It's a massive tease, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll see what other people's what comes up on YouTube and places like that. But yeah, it's not a big miss. But on the other hand, I probably would have gone because Andy and Ian are there, so I'd have been able to meet up with them and things like that. So
I don't want you to take this the wrong way, and I certainly am not prying into your personal finances. And this question is for everyone, not just for you, Darren. Because I certainly feel this way personally myself, and I have talked about this recently. I kind of feel that my gear purchasing rate and power has dried up quite quickly. It's almost like you've hit the brakes. Yours probably a little bit earlier than mine, Darren, if I remember rightly. But there's lots of reasons for it, and I think the most public reason that we could all sort of put our finger on is that if at the very basic level, we're faced with inflation and we're faced with higher costs of, just getting about with putting fuel in your car. That's the very easy one.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it, Ranz. That's probably the biggest cause. Plus, it's what's to come. I think is what's slowed us down as well. Not this actual moment in time, probably in the next couple of months, maybe next year. And it's like, just don't spend things that are not necessary at the moment because it's just.
Save your
like
pennies.
I say, it's not worth it.
So I think it's worth calling out, don't you? I think it's. I mean, like you've been.
Well, I mean,
you were ahead of the 8 ball. I mean, for whatever reason, we don't want to tap into your personal life, but in the sense that you still are a person that I know that would definitely buy gear if you could. I know you.
Oh would. Yeah.
And it would be. It's in some degree, it would be crushing you inside, thinking, "Oh, geez, I'd love to get my hands on something like that." But at the same time,
I have a list of sort of things that was on my, to get list, or maybe even to save up for, that was just out of the reach, but within reach, but saving up for. I had a list how to finish bits of the studio, what I wanted, and it's sort of like the beginning of this year, it was looking possible, and then by mid this year, it's like, no, it's not happening. So don't even get any gas because that is literally this. I think this time, as the situation we're in now, or everyone's in now, gas is literally a bad thing. Yeah,
and it's going to get worse. I mean, like for those who have mortgages, they'll be hurting as well. Now,
exactly.
When I say this may not apply to you in your country, but this definitely applies to Australians. This applies to people in the UK. So we, as two countries that are completely independent of each other in that sense, in the economic sense, have both, had mortgage rates go up crazily in the last 3 or 4 months. Really, to the point where the average person is paying, £500 to, in some cases, £1,000 extra a month on their mortgage payments, which they never had
ours
to.
Did that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because you know what happened to us?
Well,
you wake up one morning and you're thinking, well, it's going to be a bit of struggle next year. 2 days later, someone decides to crash our pound, and now it's like, oh my God, never mind all the savings we're getting, it's wiped out completely by the interest rate flying up.
And then if you add, so you've got fuel prices hurting us. Okay, go buy an EV. There's not go buy an EV. We won't even go there. You could be able to afford to buy an EV for the start, and you've got to also wait 12 months for them to come because there's a massive waiting list for those vehicles. But on top of that, there's now the issue of electricity and gas and heating and cooling and lighting and powering our homes is now a massive issue. So there's 3 pillars of financial costs that have just gone in the last 6 months easily. And we're all going to have to, this hobby that we've got here, in some cases you guys are professional out there, and you might be able to claim it on tax or whatever as a business, but in a lot of our cases, we're just doing this as a hobby. And this will suffer. This is going to suffer. It's going to suck. We'll probably exercise the used market a bit more. That would probably be where we'll go. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, there'll be more on the used market, I would expect, with people having to sell equipment. But it's quite unreal, isn't it? Because if you think 2019 Christmas, everything was all sort of just tiddling on nicely. Then a pandemic, and we was all worrying about what was going to be like down in lockdowns and coming out and not being able to get anything. And then just as we come out of that, a complete world crisis on monetary, energy, you name it.
Yep.
And it just seems to be one long, well, it'll be 3, we're just coming on for 3 years now, won't it?
Yeah.
So it's
Yep.
definitely just become a hobby at the moment.
Yeah.
But think of all the gear you got before all this started.
Lucky.
You can sell it for the price you bought it for.
In some cases you can. In some cases you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people are not going to be
So
buying
yes,
it
it's
either because
bad,
they can't
but
afford it.
it's not that bad.
Yeah, like Darren said there will be a demand and a supply discrepancy soon, where the point will be that you actually won't have anyone there to buy it, and then you'll start to panic, and then the gear prices will go down. So that's usually what happens. Look, I would say to everyone, this is quite pessimistic, what we're talking about. It's more, I'm kind of just saying, look, if you haven't experienced it yourself, be prepared. It may hit you. You guys might. I mean, look, if you're gallivanting about in your Ferrari, and you know, good luck to you. That's you know, you've done well. But most of us haven't. Most music people do drive around in crappy cars and scrape the bottom of the bank account usually each month. That tends to be how we roll, music people. So. You know, if you ever look at it, there's a good meme we showed, wasn't it, a few years ago, Darren, where we showed the musician's car where it had $10,000 worth of gear in the boot and the car was only worth 400.
Yeah, gear's worth more.
Yeah, exactly. But let's look at a positive, right? I'll get to you in a sec, Henrik. The positive is let's just keep making music. Forget about gear. Use what you've got. Don't worry too much about it. We'll get through this.
Well, it does have its upsides because it means that you've got to learn the stuff you've got and then make it do things that you was never. Rather than going out and buying something that you thought this will do your job, you've got to make your things do the job.
Yeah.
Hence the reason I did the tune last week, which was just very simple but all backwards.
Yeah, Henrik, what were you going to say?
Yeah. Two things. About the not getting more gear and getting to know the gear you have. I remember when I only had 1 or 2 synths, and I knew everything about it. I could really tweak it more than normal people would say. But then when I got more and more gear, I have less and less time to concentrate on one instrument. So thinking like that is positive when you can't get what you want, and in the same time having a break from having gas or using your gas. That will actually be like a cold turkey. You may not have gas when all this crisis is over, and you may be more. You may be better at buying new gear at that time. And the second thing, when this is over, and I hope it's not over after a big war, but it's over and everything is still safe. Then we will have a time where many countries and regions are building their own factories and chip factories. So I think we will have another period in 5 to 10 years from now where things get very cheap because it's produced everywhere and they are competing against each other. So I think the good times will return, but as always, it comes in waves, crisis and good times. That's
David mentioned it's harder to sell gear, so be careful. It's a good bit of advice as well. And I think the other comment earlier that I put up, and you guys would have seen it, was free VSDs are a great way to ease your gas, said the Future World Machine. So good advice from some very intelligent people on our chatties. it's good to have the chatties. So yeah, anyway, one of the cool things about what we said is being able to, like we said, being able to use the gear that you got. And I made a very good point about that earlier when I was showcasing, well, not showcasing, when I was looking at the S2400, and you know, this thing definitely needs. And same with Andy, who's sitting up there in the corner there. He's the same. He's got one of these, and we both are people that have had ours for, well, geez, it'd be at least over 12 months, wouldn't it? 18 months? I don't know, a long time.
Been a while.
Yeah. And it's pretty bad that this gear hasn't really even been touched. I did the firmware update, by the way, yesterday or the day before. So this has got, and that firmware update came out in February. But it's a good firmware update. So I would definitely do that if you get a chance, Andy. But it's a good question, asking the chatties. And this is kind of definitely the segue that I wanted. Asking the chatties, what gear have you got sitting there in your studio that you haven't really touched properly? You've bought it, it's sitting there, and you haven't had a chance to get to it. List that in your, just pick one that you'd kind of think, yeah, geez, I need to get over to that bit of gear and I just haven't had a chance to touch it. Or maybe it might be a bit of gear that you have bought that you're kind of scared to touch because it might be a little bit convoluted for what you're used to. I don't know. What is it? We might be the only two people in the world, Andy, that this has ever happened to. I doubt it. We'll see what the chatties say. And there's not a lot of chatties today, just to remind people that we do have quite a large UK contingent that comes in and watches the show. So we're probably missing, maybe 10 or 20 people in the chat that we normally would get.
This is another great thing about the hardware jams is it forces me to pull the dust covers off of stuff I don't use and just use it, because why not? And also some of the challenges are using stuff you don't use much. So
yeah, so let's have a little look here. We've got Culture of Ghost said his Boss RC505 Mark II is still sitting in the box. David's got an Intelligel Shapeshifter. Get onto that, mate. Both of you get onto it. Tons of software, says Lady Aptitude. Her famous term that she's going to trademark, I'm sure of it. GANUS, Gear Acquired But Never Used Syndrome. Yep, we love it. I haven't had time to play with the Casio SK1, says Magoo. Yeah, that'd be cool fun. TD3MO, which is the Behringer modded TD3 or TB303 clone. Haven't really dived into it yet. Probably need to submix it, mate. Get a little submixer. MPC 60II or 62, says Corrosive Abuser. Roy saying he's selling a ton, gassed over the lockdown like a squirrel, and now just keep what I use. So get in there before people run out of money. That's what I would say. Kev Human saying he's got a Micro Monster 2, but I've only used it a couple of presets. Yeah, so it looks to me like I don't feel so bad. I don't feel so bad. By the way, I did mention last week that I was hoping to get the Mimeophone in time for this show. It hasn't turned up yet in the post, and every time you get this little tracking thing that you can check, Darren, you remember the stories about tracking, right? It changed daily. It was going to come tomorrow, and then it was going to come Friday, and then it was going to come next week, and where are we at? And this is only going from one part of Australia to another, so I don't know. Someone's jamming with my Mimeophone in the
remember
Eurorack.
Something getting lost in Frankfurt for nearly 2 months.
Yeah, was that your Jasper
kept tracking
stuff?
that it was in there, but it kept tracking that it was in there, but it never actually moved. They tracked it, put it back to the thing, tracked it, put it back to the end, and so on.
Yours was in the middle of COVID though, so I kind of feel like they probably had.
No, it was at the end.
Was that the end? Was it? Okay.
It was after. Yeah, the second lot. Yeah, it was after COVID. Everything was running fine because, unfortunately, when I ordered something, it came in two separate parcels type of thing, because I'd ordered one thing and then went back and then ordered some same stuff, but so it came in 2 packages rather than one. And one was fine, and the other one just kept getting looped around in Frankfurt for, like I say, 2 months, I think it was.
Wow. Yeah. Well, anyway, Mimiafin next week if it turns up, and hopefully it works. Hopefully I haven't given someone money on PayPal, friends and family. Oh my God, why do I do these things? Anyway, we'll see how we go. It is used, so there you go. I'm practicing what I preach. That was a birthday present for myself from a couple of weeks ago now. So yeah, we'll see when it gets here. Now, why don't we find out how everyone's week's been? We'll start with Andy over in the US. How's your week been?
Hey, just busy. I had this flu I picked up at the Chic Duran Duran concert many weeks ago, and went to get a prescription for antibiotics the other day because still coughing up wonderful stuff. So, but yeah, otherwise feeling all right. Just working a lot, doing little projects here, and they're getting ready to go to Synthplex at the end of the month. Jean-Michel Jarre is going to be there. A whole bunch of people are going to be there. Should be a good show. I've never gone to one of them. I missed the very first one because I didn't even know about it, and several were canceled because of COVID and other issues. But
you're lucky because we don't get them down here.
So, well, NAMM is great now that I can finally go and not be kicked out. But so I got NAMM and I got Synthplex. That's about it. Everything else is far away. So.
Yeah, true. Well, I mean, it's good. Any new gear? I know you're a bit of a gear fiend like me.
Well, you saw the Rumble of Ancient Times last time.
Yeah.
The sequencer.
Oh, So show the guys the because there'd be a lot more people on now.
SQ64.
We'll be bringing
this week.
We'll be bringing this out a little bit later too. Because it'll be something in the
metal case, built like a tank.
Awesome.
Tons of I/O as you'd expect.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, good. And it's smaller than the BeatStep Pro too. That's the other good thing about it.
Well, technically, it's like the same specs. It's only 4 tracks.
Yeah.
And one's a rhythm track. So I actually think we'll partner very well for hardware jams with my KeyStep Pro, so now I have 8 tracks to play with.
Okay. So there you go. Cool. But one cool thing that it does that I don't think the BeatStep Pro does is it's polyphonic in its sequencing.
Yes.
So that's something that I've always wanted to ask someone who has an SQ64 is for example, could I plug it into my 4 Behringer modules here and play chords on it through a sequencer through the SQ64. That's kind of what I'm wondering if you could
be able to. Yeah, my BeatStep Pro unfortunately is sitting somewhere else. I haven't used that for a long time. Speaking of sitting gathering dust, KeyStep Pro is so much more fun. But BeatStep Pro I had first. It's nice.
Yeah. The reason why I never bought a KeyStep Pro was because I've always had KeySteps. I've got 2 of them here and one pretend one, and I've always had a BeatStep Pro. So if you put the KeyStep and the BeatStep Pro next to each other, you've basically got a KeyStep Pro.
I started with that, and then I realized KeyStep Pro altogether is actually much better.
Yeah.
Plus, you have the little rhythm arpeggio strip thing from the BeatStep Pro on the KeyStep Pro. And you're so first I was skeptical, and then I got it and went, oh man, I should have done this sooner.
Right.
So
yeah, but the thing that stops me from getting a KeyStep Pro is the price over here.
I know, and I got the most expensive one, the black one from Japan. So it's really worse, but
you can't get the black ones at the moment. Yeah. All right, beautiful. We'll also say hello to Henrik. How's your week been?
It's been a fine week. I got the new toy.
Yay! Look at that.
And
sexy.
And new speakers. The ADAM, what are they called? I can't remember. 8V or 7V, something like that. It's okay. It only says ADAM audio on the front. So I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it sounds incredible. I really got the bass now, and it's so defined. And I haven't played them loud enough to hear all the treble, but it comes through nice, I'd say. And I need to do some meshing and room correction on them, so I have them perfect. But so far they sounds great.
Wow.
I really like them. And then I released a new album.
Yes.
And I haven't listened to it for 3 or 4 weeks because I really got deaf on if it was good at all. I really hated it in the end. So I started working on the next album and haven't been thinking about this album before the release this Thursday, Friday. And people like it, and I was surprised because I really hated it. So I'm really happy that people likes it. And
That's
now
always the
when I
case.
listen, yeah, yeah. When I listen now, I can hear it. It is okay. It's better than I thought it in the end. So I'm happy about that. The next album, I'm taking a break from that now, because I think it's okay, and I will listen again in 2 weeks and decide if it's perfect. Because it's so easy to get deaf about how it is when you work on it all the time. So I'm just happy people like this album. It really means a lot to me. Sometimes I have some down times, and this lifts me up. So even though I have my Asperger, where I sometimes seems cold, doesn't feel anything, it's not like that. I do feel, I do appreciate when people say nice things, and sometimes I misunderstand if people say something that could feel bad, and I just decide to take a distance and wait it out, and then a week later everything is fine again. So yeah, that's how I work. But I'm glad this is really a lifter for me.
Yeah, I have posted the link in the YouTube chat for Henrik's album. It's called Boiled, by the way. He didn't say that. It's called Boiled. And to the Bandcamp page is there, and do go check it out. It is actually really, really good. Yeah, better than anything I could ever do. Henrik, yeah, the issues of whatever it is that you have, there's a lot of us that suffer from things similar. So please, you don't have to explain yourself. We'll all just say that we're artists and we're eccentric. And I think that just puts us in an easy light, then, doesn't it? I think there's people out there that have got way worse behavioural issues than you. That's for sure. Right, and Darren, waiting there patiently. Darren is actually the third oldest person that's been in terms of being on the show the longest. So I do want to mention that to you, mate. I do appreciate you hanging around and putting up with us. It's been good. Yeah. So what have you been up to?
This week, it's been, I'd say, probably fairly chilled week, and just writing for tracks for YouTube, really. Because the track I put out last week was one people seem to like it anyway. It's sort of very chilled out transit, and as you say, Ranz, the sort of effect that I like to play a lot with, reversed stuff. Hence the title. And what I'm doing is it's a selection of 3 tracks. So from last week, this week, or tomorrow, and the week after, it's like a set of 3 tracks that's going out, and they're all sort of very similar in design, but using my love of reverse things, reverse samples, reverse everything. I mean, the track last week was all reversed. Well, it's actually reverse mirrored. So apart from the drums, that's not strictly true because some of the drums were reversed in it. every track was played forward and reversed at the same time. So it's a mirrored sort of, as it were. Each track was then mirrored but in reverse and all played together. So tomorrow's track is very similar, but with some vocals and some atmospheric. You'll like it. If you like last week's, you'll like this one and the week after. So there's going to be 3 tracks over the next 3 weeks. So that was last week, this week, and the week coming. It'll be 3 sort of DTH reverse, sort of play on, chill out, ambient type styles, whatever you want to call it. But other than working on that and finishing off little bits for Bandcamp, the Bandcamp people, that's all I've been doing really. Looking at gear, but not buying any.
Yeah. Yes. Now I've just got this is your last track that you did last Sunday, the I Am So Backward.
Hence the title.
Yeah. So I've just linked that into the chatties. Have a little look. Well, there we go. It's a little snippet of Darren's track. Probably got about a little bit further than halfway through it. And one of the things that I think, if you were very carefully listening to it, was that I think the drum beat should have surprised you as it came in, because you were kind of traveling on that little ambient sort of flow, right? And then when he put that drum beat through, it kind of, oh, hang on a minute, I'm over here now on this drum beat. And it then, all of a sudden, it just worked together. So it was very clever. I like those sort of little cool things that Darren does in his tracks, little surprises.
I kind of expected or hoped that, and then it came. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, you'll like tomorrow's because it's on the same sort of trip with some something to think about. The vocal in it is something to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah,
is the vocal from M-Voice?
Sorry?
The vocal, is that M-Voice or is it a real vocal?
It'll be a real vocal. Oh, the one on this track, the track that you've just heard.
Yeah.
That was a vocal, but that's a reversed vocal. It was a sample of a female vocal, and I cut it.
So it was
reversed
a
it,
so.
Yeah.
But
Tomorrow's will be actually played forward.
Yeah. It was a little like the first M-Voice, the free one, where you only had to pay a little bit for the M-Voice system. It was a bit like that vocal. If you use it right, it can be used wrong and sound totally mechanical.
I'll tell you a secret onto that ambient track. That vocal is actually a dubstep sample. So it is really aggressive and raw, but reversed and fiddle about with a bit. It gives a lovely ambient sort of lush sort of vocally type style thing. But tomorrow's, you'll actually hear the vocal because it's sort of meaning to something to think about. But the same track is reversed with the parts going forward as well, so it's similar. And the week after...
What is it with that? Well, I was talking about reversing samples. Now you're talking about reversing samples. Like it's just weird how things just all kind of different part of the world.
Reversed stuff, haven't they?
Yeah, it's weird. If you're wondering too, JX3D's music, if I play it, I'll get a copyright strike. So that's why I've sent the Bandcamp link through.
But nothing happens if you get that strike. You maybe, I don't know if it blocks the video for a while, but it opens it up again.
Yeah.
As long as
I don't want to have to deal with that crap again. The amount of pain that copyright thing that French guy caused me earlier this year. When I've already had a strike, not a claim, a strike, it kind of makes you think. The amount of years that I put into this YouTube channel, I don't want someone out of my hands taking this thing down just for something stupid. So I have to be careful. So hence. Go
Especially
check it out
when you
yourself.
didn't mean anything badly by it. He's just a dope, right?
Yeah, he's just an idiot. Yeah, and I'll still continually profess that. Anyway, not JX3D. That is. We're talking about the French guy here. Yes, I'm still bitter and twisted about it. Anyway, we should get on to the show because we've already said hello to the chatties. There's been a couple other have dropped in, which is their prerogative. There's a pretty reasonable amount of people on the channel now. A lot more than I thought anyway, considering that Synth is on. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to go with the first segment, which is Funny Side. And in a random order, we have this one that's come up in social media, which may be the first synth political meme we've ever seen. So I don't know how well that one's going to go down. Shout out to Dazza from Down Under.
Yeah, but you don't want this scent. It's already broken.
Yeah.
It's just gas.
It's yeah.
I think what's happened is they've pressed stop mode too much on it. See the little stop mode there? Yeah. Sorry. Next. When you buy a module and it comes with a sticker. They don't all come with stickers, by the way, and it is kind of quite a nice. There's Charlie. Well, it's not Charlie, is it? Who's the boy with the golden ticket? It was Charlie, wasn't
Charlie Bucket.
Yeah. Good on you, Charlie. And then we've got, this is what I was saying to you before, Andy, about how Jean-Michel Jarre's going to the US. Well, this is what Depeche Mode think about what the world actually looks like, according to their world tour map. There seems to be the hemisphere, that it's southern, right? There's countries like, let's just name a few, shall we? Well, there's a few missing there. There's like South Africa, there's Malaysia, there's Singapore. Gee, Singapore is like one of the busiest hubs in the world. There's a little place called Australia. There's New Zealand. There's a whole bunch of... Guys, you missed it. And I think the last one is this, now that we have encroached into a lot of the affordability issues, this is the only way that we're ever going to be able to afford a Jupiter 8 and keyboard. It's the only, a fridge magnet is the only way now. This is, it's
the new micro boutique.
It's it's called playing with your mother's pin cushion. Yes. What was your favourite meme, gentlemen?
Ooh, I do like that. I thought the Nord Stream was quite cute.
Yeah.
But
you could see they turned it down as well.
Depeche Mode, so
you like Depeche Mode?
I've always loved Depeche Mode, so I can't dismiss them.
Yeah, Nord Stream, Depeche Mode. Okay, Andy, what about yourself?
Yeah, Depeche Mode, because you know, if you're gonna say world tour, you better go a little further than that. So.
Yeah. Interesting map, that one. What are we seeing here? And the chatties are saying magnet, Nord Stream. So it looks like Nord Stream seems to get the votes. Well done, Dazza. You've made people laugh. Good on you, mate. I don't think he's here today. He's probably snoring over in the east coast of Australia. Yeah, anyway, so that is it for Funny Side, and we should now head on over to news. There's not a lot of news today, but there is one big piece of news. One very, very big, sexy piece of news indeed. Now, whilst you guys are looking at that thinking, what the heck is this? I am going to click on my stupid failing title system with all the thousands of clicks that I've got to do and press this button here. And hopefully it's right. Hey! See, if I do it manually, everything works beautifully. So yes, Moog have announced 2 new Eurorack powered cases. Now, okay, you're probably thinking, oh, whoop-de-doo. You know, they're just Eurorack cases. What's so good about them? And I kind of thought that myself. I thought, what's so good about, you know, why do we have to make a big song and dance and talk about this? Well, one of the things that they mentioned in this I thought was quite interesting. There's no video, by the way. Maybe when there's no video, it's not that newsworthy. Anyway, the thing that I thought was interesting is the bus board that they've got in this. So you can see pictured inside it, there is a bus board, and the bus board itself has 10, 16 pin power connectors. But what's important is actually how they've done the bus board. There's actually an external power supply which offers a low noise, high efficiency input voltage compatibility. And it also includes the power circuit itself has high frequency noise filtering and isolation in it to protect against electrostatic discharge and overload. So not every single Eurorack power bus board has that because you can get sort of, you know, fairly generically cheaply made ones, and you can get ones that are done well. So that is something to probably ask next time you go out and buy a Eurorack case. What sort of power filtering and low noise supply does it offer? Because it's a very good question, I think. Let's see, is there another photo here? Yeah, there you go. It's a photo with there's 2 versions. There's 104 HP, which you can see pictured here. And the one that was empty before, that one's the 60 HP. Pricing, you're looking at $299 for the small one and $349. You might as well go for the bigger one, eh? $349. The link is in that blog article that we talk about every week. Before we go any further, I thought we'd just quickly talk about this a little bit. All of us here are Eurorack people. What do you think about this kind of announcement about the noise filtering, the anti-electrostatic discharge, that sort of stuff, power protection? Do you think that's a good move, or do you think they're just talking marketing talk and every power supplier's got that? What are we talking about here, guys?
I mean, I've had noise on my Eurorack, especially in the older Deptford cases. So it's nice that they thought about that, assuming they actually, you know, like it's not buzz speak, right?
Yeah, assuming it's not buzz speak. Yeah.
But it's anything to get rid of interference and noise and make the modules a little safer so they don't get damaged. It's great.
Out of interest, does anyone know, like the Behringer Go case, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer for people that want 2-tier, 140 HP, whatever it is, you know. What sort of power filtering and stuff has that got? Because I was under the impression it had that. So if anyone knows, let us know. With my Eurorack setup, I haven't got it here, that I'm making. I'm using Meanwell power supplies, which are pretty decent sort of computer / hobbyist electronics power supplies that you can get. And they've got filtering built into them as well. And then also the bus boards that I'm using have got decent caps and filtering in them as well, and Electro, you know, anti sort of cross-talk across the module buses and stuff like that. So those sort of things are interesting. Makeshifter is in the chat. He said that he has 2 power solutions here that are pretty much the same architecture. Send us through a pic, because I can't remember if, I'm pretty sure I've seen your pic of the power solution. Did I? Here we go. That's his comment there. Send it through and we'll show it. But obviously I won't show it straight away because I want to get on to the next topic.
Before
Intelligent well
we get
power
on,
supplies too.
Yeah, Henrik?
about your what is it called? Your lower thirds, and again my name is spelled wrong. Remove the C.
Sorry.
About those labels, or what do you call it? When it always starts for you with the second one, then just for the next show and in future, make two number ones. Number 1 and 2 should just be the same, so you always start with the right one.
It's I don't think it's that, but yeah, it's a good idea. Could try it. Yeah. Does that fix it? No.
No, the C is still there.
Yeah, but I've definitely updated it.
That's perfect. And it's only pronounced Henrik, not Henrik, or something.
There you go. Look at that. So why didn't I do that before?
Henrik. Yeah.
Weird.
Fine.
If you're wondering, it's done actually on a Google, what do you call it? Google Doc. I do it on a Google Doc, and it uses a Google API to pull the data down into the show. So, so the show titles for you guys are done through the Google Doc and also through the news. So these things here, when I bring it up there, they're done also through Google API. And probably part of the issue with that is going to be that API doesn't probably talk properly. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I haven't sorted it out.
0 and 1.
Yeah,
it
could be.
The API may start with 0 instead of 1. So
yeah,
you know what I mean if you are a programmer.
Yeah. Anyway, the next thing that I want to talk about to you guys is this thing, and this kind of really got me interested to the degree where I actually think we should queue up a video, because actually the video is kind of well explained, I think. And let me just get this video sorted. Wow, no ads on a video. What's the world coming to? Here we go.
Imagine an audio interface with game-changing flexibility. Connect 6 is a dual USB-C audio interface for musicians and creators. With its extensive analog and digital connectivity, you can easily create audio workflows from basic to complex with just a few clicks. Crystal clear sound for your voice and instruments. Connect 6 features 2 studio-grade preamps with industry-leading low noise performance and 72 dB gain to use any microphone without additional signal boosters. Sounding professional is easy. Add DSP-powered effects to your voice, vocals, and instruments without introducing latency or using precious CPU power. Auto Setup helps you to find your optimal settings automatically. Fully integrate your Android or iOS device into your audio setup. Connect via the additional USB-C port for lossless digital audio transfer between your computer and mobile device while charging. Create your personal audio setup with the included control center. Use 3 software channels for audio routing. A loopback channel to capture audio from any software, game, browser, or Zoom call, and 2 independent master mixes, 1 for monitoring and 1 for your audience. The maximizer ensures optimal loudness wherever you send your mixes. Connect 6, your audio interface for game-changing flexibility.
All right, so this was kind of interesting for me for a few reasons. I mean, if you just look at this at face value, it kind of definitely looks like it's aimed at the podcaster market, the streaming market, maybe the gaming, the Twitch person, the people that do their live game streams on. I kind of think that's probably where it's aimed at. But if you look at Lewitt as a company, they actually make microphones, and they're an Austrian company who are making really decent microphones for quite a while. And for them to get into this audio interface market, kind of, I think, is refreshing. So, so yeah, guys, let's have a bit of a talk about this. Whilst I've got you guys up, I just want to mention a couple of things that I sort of made note of during when I was watching the video. The first thing is the integration between the hardware and software, I think, provides a refreshing setup. Now, when I say that, the actual device itself, if you guys were to look at the device, there is actually another image here. Let me see if I can get it for you. Here we go. I'll show it this way. No, this way. This way.
I had a problem, and it was my HDHD, which triggered because of the design. I don't mind the design. It's okay. It's kind of ugly, but if they have added a pencil holder and a clips box and things like that, then it would have been useful. I also need it to be useful.
Yeah, it's a desktop thing. So anyway, let me just quickly talk about this for a sec. Looking at this graphic, it's probably handy. So what it's aiming at is multiple connectivity with computers and devices. So if you look at the photo, you can see that they've got a laptop and a phone. And that's actually really important too, because the back of this thing does have, I think it's actually got 3 USB-C ports on the back. One of them is an iPhone/iPad, tablet, Android type USB connection. There's another one for your computer, and there's also another one for power. And so that's just, when you're thinking about that, if you're looking at sort of like these sort of products, the integration usually with these sort of audio interfaces happens on your CPU, and then you'll get your CPU bogged down and doing all the heavy work. What these guys are saying is that all of the integration with the various devices happens on the actual audio interface itself, not on your CPU. Now that has me interested, because I'm wanting to know a little bit more about that, because that will bring back any of the latency issues you're going to have with your USB-C connected devices. The analog side of it seems to be pretty straightforward, with 2 XLR inputs, 2 headphone outputs on the front you saw. One's a 3.5 millimeter and one's a 1/4 inch. And what else? We also have, there's a 3.5 millimeter aux audio connection. Now, the other thing too is they talked about this having that companion software, which you guys saw in the video. Then the companion software is basically just a configurator. So it's kind of different to some of these other devices that you get where you've got to plug it in and then you've got to use your PC with it. So in this case, you are plugging it in and you're using it on your PC as an audio interface, but when you configure the things like the DSP effects, that's actually in the box, not on your PC. It's not like some VST that's running secretly in the background as a software slave. It actually runs on the audio interface itself, the hardware. And they actually made a point talking about that. So when you're looking at my sort of world, when I'm doing streaming, one of the issues I've got is synchronizing microphones to devices to computers. And a lot of that, the issue with the synchronization is because some things travel quicker than others devices-wise, connectivity and stuff. So it's very hard to get it all right, okay? So anyway, having said all that, the whole thing is 299 euros. And you're going to have multiple channels that you can set up through the configuration software, where, like, say for example, I was doing my show using this, right? I could have people coming in on OBS Studio or Zoom calls or something like that, and I could mix them in with the main mix of this software in that application that you saw. And then at the same time, bring a mobile phone into it as well. You know. Anyway, thoughts about the Connect 6?
A mobile phone, they are only mentioning iOS. There's no Android.
No,
I could understand
they mentioned Android.
The DSP was not in the box.
They mentioned Android. Yep, they absolutely mentioned Android.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, I may have been thinking too much about the design then.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, speaking of that, I don't know if anyone's picked up on it, but Andy, I was kind of hoping you might. iPad musicians, this is going to be pretty cool for them because you're bringing an iPad device straight into your audio interface without having to use any dongles or any sort of other sort of convoluted connectivity. Just go straight into the audio interface. You're not going through your PC and then back in through your audio interface. Does that make sense? You're just going straight in. Some thoughts on that, maybe?
I actually was curious too. It looks like it's like the ATEM Mini where it's configurable with software, but it is truly standalone. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, truly standalone.
That's really good too, because
truly standalone in the sense it is an audio interface, so you would actually be using this in your phone, or you'd be using this in your tablet, or you'd be using this into your computer. So it's not really useful unless you're connecting it to...
Yeah, it's in the computer if you're going to stream out from it, sure.
Yeah.
But like the ATEM, it's standalone. I don't use the software on this thing once I've configured all
Correct,
the custom volumes and all that other stuff on here. It's like set and forget.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. So.
Yeah. I thought the price was pretty reasonable from, what I could see. I mean, when you think about audio interfaces around the €300 mark, for that sort of... I mean, you probably... It's quite intuitive with the sort of device level of connectivity, whereas you see the competitive market would have more maybe analog inputs, for example. Do you know what I mean?
When you see the back of it, you realize why it has those crazy shapes because of all the ports and stuff.
Yep.
But from the front, it looks like a poor design choice. You have to see the back to know why it's shaped like that.
Yeah, they showed it on the video, didn't they? The back of it. I think it was on the video.
They did, yeah. I'm just saying that the first look, you're like, whoa, what are they trying to do here? It's like
looks like a block of Lego.
So you can see that Roland did this as well, didn't they? When they made that Go Mix thing, and I was laughing about how big and chunky it was, and it's because of the XLR inputs. That's why it's like that.
Right. Yeah.
Like you said, it's to do with the inputs. Yeah.
Well, it's the same reason the H8 Zoom recorder is a crazy ass design because you have to get 6 XLRs in there.
Yeah.
Plus the top, module. So
that offers actually just while you're looking at that too. Is there a better view of the other side? Do they? Yeah. Hang on. What are we? It's not so good, but can you see on the left-hand corner how you've got? There's a computer USB-C. Then there's power, right? So there's 2 USB-Cs to far left, and then you've got an auxiliary 3.5mm with the gold sort of ring. Then you've got the mobile USB-C, and it says iPad and iPhone. Henrik, that's probably why you thought it doesn't support Android, but it does. It definitely supports Android. So there's just...
No, the first phones they mentioned were iPad and iPhone.
Yeah.
iPad isn't a phone, but... So and then I began thinking about the design again and the pencil holder and all that stuff. So I forgot to listen to the rest. I understand the design, but I think they should have made a flat, a flat compared to the XLRs, flat in their height all the way, and then they should have put the knob on the on the wall of that space, if you understand what I mean. I think the design should have been different. I think it's very ugly.
It's odd. It's
I guarantee they love the design. They think it's cool.
Yeah, it's supposed to look space agey. I think
it's making it different. It's standing out from some.
Yeah, some people will love that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but if they have a good name like Bang & Olufsen, B&O, then they can do things like that. But if they make just one piece of gear which is crap, this will not be good.
Lewitt
recognize what other people have.
Nah, Lewitt definitely don't make crap bits of gear. I can tell you, their microphones. I would actually love to have a Lewitt microphone. Okay. They're really good. Good Austrian. Okay, good. Yeah. So I mean, I rave a lot about Rode. If they're Australian, that's probably why I rave about them. But I would say Lewitt are definitely up there with their mics. So a lot of guys swear by Lewitt mics. So yeah, there's actually
I don't know the company. So I can't see that.
Yeah, there was a photo of. I thought there was a photo of one of their mics. Yeah, there's a photo of one of their mics here. That's a podcaster mic that they do. It's a nice little compact podcaster mic that they do. It's actually really quite quite popular as well. It's been around for a while, so you'll start to see some of
Does it have
their
good
stuff.
rubber feet on the bottom, or some sort of decent? Because you don't want that sliding about, do you?
Yeah, I didn't see any underneath photos, but I'm sure it's got little pads or feet on it. Yeah, little silicon feet or something, surely. What are the chatties saying? That's it for the news, but I will. There is one other bit of news I want to talk about in a sec, but I just want to see what the chatties are saying about this.
Like game of Tetris.
I hereby invert micro XLR. Yeah, it probably has. It has influences in its design. I would definitely say it has influences, but the design is really not the issue here for me. The issue is actually the features that it delivers, and for
Well, this is the first outing, isn't it, for it doing this type
audio
of thing?
interfaces. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that this, like I say, it's more of a sort of podcasty, YouTubey thing, but as its potential to move into the studio, especially if they make it bigger or add more inputs and outputs. So maybe they'll see what people think about it, and you'll probably see the design change in bigger ones if they do a Connect 8 or whatever.
It's probably only about 20 centimeters in size. Let's go back to that. When you look at the phone, so it's not a huge thing. It's not a huge thing. Anyway, why don't we go to the next bit of news? And this bit of news deserves this. Yes, I've got the Ranzee's Rant stinger out. I've dusted it off. I actually got my little duster out. Here it is here. Just if you're wondering, I got it out and I dusted it off because it's about time we had a little rant, people. And that is Korg. Are you listening? Korg, you're a synth manufacturer. You do other things, I know. What is it with your little sales that you have in the US? Hello, the US isn't the only country that you are allowed to have sales in. Think about us, people. We would like to have a 40% off sale down here. This is not the first time you've done it recently either. I mean, your SQ64 this week, a few weeks ago was your Mod Wave, and now someone started feeling a little bit sad about it, so they decided to bring a little sale over in the EU and put the NTS1 on sale. But geez, you couldn't put 40% on that. You only put 23% on that. What's going on, Korg? It's a bit of fun, but I just thought I'd have a little chat to you guys about this kind of. This is an interesting kind of marketing thing that they're doing. I could definitely have bought the SQ64 and shipped it over. There's no. I don't think they even come with power supplies, do they, Andy? So
USB cable.
USB cable. There you go. So yeah, look, in terms of me personally, one of the reasonings that someone from somewhere in Korg marketing said was that they needed to shift stock. That was the reasoning in the US. Now, I had a bit of a look at that to see, like, let's fact check. Have you heard that nice little term? Let's fact check that, right? They had 10 in stock in the US. There wasn't like a lot, right? They had to clear stock. There was 10. According to Amazon, and I think Sweetwater had around the same, and they're probably all just pulling out from the same pool of stock. Then I had a look in Australia, there was also 10 here. So who needs the sale, people? Anyway, the people in the Europe, part of Europe, in the EU, getting the NTS1 at 23% off, that may be a little bit of a nice bit of news if you're sort of looking for that. But look, I will never ever say, as I said, that rant was a bit of fun. If Korg want to discount their stuff, good on them, because we were talking about it earlier, we could definitely use a little bit of money kept in our pocket. Wouldn't you agree, guys?
Yeah, definitely.
Darren's like, got the Internet of Things doing weird stuff to you.
Yeah, we've had a few issues past few days with this internet having a bit of an issue. I forgot what I was going to say now then. But yeah, they might have only been had room for like 12. That's why they had to get rid of some stock. They got 10. They were getting close to filling up, so maybe they had to get rid of a few.
There was some guys on social media having some fun with this. Like I was watching Facebook, Instagram, and people chatting about it, and there was people sort of saying, "But I can get the SQ64 for blah blah blah." And by the time that they'd worked out how much postage it was going to cost them, it didn't work out to be any sort of saving. For me, if I wanted to get the SQ64, I think I worked out that it would be about, what did I say, Andy? About 70 US saving, which is not too shabby.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, that's not too bad. But at the end of the day, there's two different versions from what I found out too. And someone needs to correct me if I'm wrong here, because this is basically just what social media have been saying. One is like the one that you got, Andy, that one you got on sale, doesn't come with any power supply, which is the PSA 315, I think the standard one that they put on the Electribes and all that sort of stuff. On the back of yours, does it have that standard DC plug on it, just out of curiosity? I'm pretty sure it does, right?
Yeah, there's a barrel connector.
Yeah, so it'll be that Sony 1.7 mil thing that they use with everything of theirs.
The great thing about this is the USB cable, I use those little AC adapters to USB and it's fine. So
Yeah. So when you are comparing prices, don't forget there is, you may be potentially comparing the price of one that doesn't ship with the power supply to one that might have the power supply in the box. And there is a small cost to Korg to produce that power supply, whether it be 25 US or something for a power supply or whatever. And I think there was something else that was in it as well, some cabling or something. But yours comes with 2 USB-C cables, doesn't it? Or does it come with one?
No, just one USB A to B.
Oh, USB A to B.
USB-C, you're right.
USB-C.
No, you're right. USB-C. It's USB-C.
Okay, cool. Right. Anyone else want to make a comment about Korg? We haven't got Ian here, so he's not here to defend himself. No, he doesn't have to defend himself. It is interesting marketing. Don't you agree, though? It's interesting marketing how they tell the world, we're going to have a sale, 40% off, and then you go and read the fine print, it's only US only. And you're like, oh, really? In Australia, we don't have Korg directly distributed here. We have this company called CMI Australia who bring Korg products in. And I mean, I don't really know the guys at CMI, so I don't really want to, poo on them. But they would definitely be making a little tidy, sum, because they have to bring the gear in and then they have to then ship it out to the retail stores. So there'd have to be some sort of, otherwise why would they do it, right? So, hello. In our case, in Australia, it's kind of like there's 2 people handling the gear before it gets to the retailers, where in your situation, Andy, over in the US, it's only one. Korg directly ships to Sweetwater or to, Perfect Circuit or whatever, right? So there potentially is less cost when you think about it, right? So if 2 people are dipping their little fingers in the profit pile, right, versus one person, there's potentially less cost. I could be wrong, though. But let's have a look at that. Let's have a look. If I go to an Australian retailer, and I'll convert this to US dollars. So we'll look at Store DJ, which is a pretty big retailer here in Australia. And we'll go Korg SQ64, right? They are retailing for 499 Australian. Okay, 499 AUD to USD is, according to Google, 318. What did you get yours for, Andy?
It was $299.
So we're talking about $20. Yeah. It's not much of a saving, really, is it? When I look at it that way. There you go. Rant over. That rant sort of went.
Yeah.
I get lucky sometimes. I bought enough stuff at Guitar Center. They send me coupons once in a while, so like a 16% off coupon.
There's the rant. Everyone loves the rant. What are the chatties saying? Makeshift is saying, I posted on Discord some stuff about PowerBrick PSL. Oh, yeah. Okay, I know what he's talking about now. All right, cool. I'll see if I can drag that out at the end of this part of the segments. Who else got the Korg stuff? Whether it would be the Modwave or the NTS1. Have Human says it's £71 at Amazon UK. Is that with the 23%? Let me just have a look at the article that I had a look at before.
I missed the Modwave deal. When was that?
It was a couple of weeks ago. €76. So this is Amazon. Yeah, okay. So this is Amazon. €76 instead of €99 for the NTS one. That's not a huge discount, but it's better than a poke in the eye. It's coming up again as 99 for me. So obviously that was very short-lived, that little sale that they had. Anyway, if you're in the market for an NTS one, you can still get it for 23% off. Go for it. They're pretty cool, those little NTS ones, by the way. So there's guys in Eurorack, they're using them for as little cheap oscilloscopes. I mean, at the very least, that's handy, right? So, yeah. Okay. We need to go on to the next segment, which is number 3. Number 3 is eBay scammers, and there's no scammers this week. And why have I got all the old photos in there? Hang on a sec. I thought I'd change this. Let me have a look here. eBay. Oh, I probably need to delete them out of the folder. That might help. Oops. All right, let's hit this magic refresh button. And hey, there we go. So this is one I found during the week, just in my email. You know how when eBay sends you an email and says, hey, what about this? And I looked at this and I thought, what about it indeed? $4,500 Australian dollars, which is, well, let's say 4,600, right? Just to round it off to US dollars, because my maths is so good, is $3,000 for a delay pedal, people. Don't you think this is getting a bit stupid? Seriously? I know this is probably what it's worth.
Well, if you sell yours, Ranz, you'll be able to get a Moog one, won't you?
Well, I don't want to get a Moog one. That's the thing. I'll probably sell my phaser pedal if it's going to make me $4,500. Wow, that's a lot of Malula bars. That's a lot of money. Yeah. What do you guys think? Would you guys rush out and buy this? This is a Rigididge auction. This is definitely not a scammy sort of price. I just think it's just getting stupid. That's what I think. Anyone?
No,
White limited
because like
edition
you were
makes it
saying that
different,
you're...
Sorry, Andy, what were we saying? Hang on, Darren.
It's white limited edition, so that automatically makes it some crazy price, right?
Are the white ones really limited edition? Is that? I never thought they were. Yeah. Anyway, Darren, what were you saying?
I was just going to say, I said, well, not really. Would you sell your... Because you've got a few, haven't you?
I've got
Do you think...
low pass filter, the ring modulator, the phaser. There's 3 over there, actually. In fact, what have I got? There's one that's not there. That's the low pass filter, I think. So, where's the camera gone?
Well, as you were saying earlier, the Dreadbox phaser, would you pay the Moog price for the phaser or your Dreadbox? And you were saying, because the Dreadbox is about $70 thereabouts. So would you sell your Moog phaser?
Frequency box was the other one on the left. Bob Moog signature on the ring mod, so that's got to be worth a bit. Yeah. I don't know.
Or would you sell them knowing now how much you could get, or is it just sort of sentimentally sort of it's a Moog, it's an old, it looks old,
it's a bit stupid,
classic.
isn't it?
Yeah. So would you sell them for the amount that you could actually get, and then you could get quite a few other bits of kit?
If we were struggling to pay our mortgage, I'd probably sell it. Like if it was a life thing, a life or death sort of thing. But if my situation is the way I am currently. You know, there's no need for me to sell it, so I'll be keeping it because I really love that phaser pedal. So
yeah, but there you go. Are you keeping it because of the sort of more sentimental, sort of like classic ideal sort of thing? When you can get, there's a lot more that can do very, very similar. I'm not going to say exactly because we'll go down that rabbit hole of whether it sounds the same. But for the actual, it's like me and my Juno 6. I mean, for the amount that they're going for now, you could sell that, and it's like you can, like you say, you can get to the Roland, is it Juno X, which is going to sound pretty much similar, especially
or
the
System
track.
8.
But I'd keep that. Just I don't know. It gives you that classic feel of something that was built a long time ago. Well, 82-ish. Yeah, and it feels, even though I can get something
chorus.
just the sounds the same.
Yeah,
the dirty chorus. Yeah,
the dirty chorus.
Nothing's
I mean, I've got
as old as that.
I've got an MKS 70 down here.
It's sentimental at the end of the day,
which cost a fortune to sell now. I'd get some very, very nice amount of money for the MKS 70. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Sensibly, no.
Nostalgia, that's it.
Not for me, not nostalgia, because the Moog Fogers aren't that old, really. They were kind of Moog Voyager, sort of late 90s. When I think, I could be wrong. Late 90s, I thought they came out. It's
still getting on a bit now, though, when you think about it.
Yeah. But that phaser does it for me for some weird reason. It gives me little goosebumps sometimes when I listen to it, especially in the 12-phase mode, the 12-stage mode. It sounds like an ARP Quadra.
Well, you say late 90s. My AN1X, which is about 97, late 90s.
Yeah, that's true.
In fact, quite way, because the track tomorrow is just done with the AN1X.
And they're fetching
of it's done with them.
They're fetching a pretty penny right now, the AN1Xs. They're going up in price.
Exactly, and it's sort of like you can still get stuff that does the same. Or
Darren's gold mine.
Sound-wise, anyway.
Darren's sitting on a little gold mine.
Yeah, you'll see me next with this empty studio. Just big bling necklace around.
Calling in from your Ferrari.
I swapped it off for gold.
Why don't we get back onto the
DTH,
options?
Well, about the Moog delay, I wouldn't order it even if it was cheaper. I always fear when I order online the delays.
Yeah.
That was bad.
It was bad. Yeah, especially with the shipping. Yeah. Anyway, this is a real live auction here, people. I just thought this was interesting. So these seem to be hard to get, boutiques, at the moment, from some people that have been saying to me. Some people are holding onto their boutiques. So I don't know what's happening with Roland. Like, that seems to be weird how that would be the case. Anyway, so what's that?
They were all supposed to be limited, all the boutiques.
I don't think they were limited, though. They have stopped making them.
It's a long limited line.
No, I mean, they and that's why they had those waves, like the JU06. They stopped making a long time ago.
Yeah. But here's another one that's interesting. The Korg Volca Kick. Right? Same vendor in this particular case. Hello to everyone in Chicago. I've got one of these and I never use it, and I'm thinking about, like, why do I have it? It's basically an MS-20 with, a MS-20 sort of filter in here, resonator. It's an interesting...
It's wicked bass on it. It's fun,
yeah. It's interesting, but it's very limited. It just depends, But yeah, hold on to your Volca kicks maybe. Surely they're still selling it. Are they still selling Volca kicks? Can someone just quickly check that? I actually don't know. What else we got here?
I've heard it kick ass.
Henrik's doing the jokes today, everyone. So what is this? A Chiat Lombard Forces. What is this? So do it yourself synth. A unique piece
Lombard,
of sound.
all the weird wooden synths and stuff like the Coco Quantus and the these weird samplers and granular stuff. They're really cool, but super expensive.
104 brass Sandrodes and 1 copper listener mode. Internal speaker switched off. I'm trying to work out what it does. Let's have a look at some photos of this thing. What does it do? Is it just like a one? Is it like a mono thing, or what does it do? Wow. I want to see that closer. That's definitely DIY. Oh, holy crap. Interesting.
Yeah, it looks very deliberate that it should look like that.
Looks like something
very nice.
Game of Thronesy, doesn't it? The dragon eggs in here or something. Oh, anyway, that one was
really
interesting.
good stuff, but they're weird looking. They're expensive.
Yeah. Oberheim seems to be moving a bit of stuff on the used market. So the Matrix 6 was with a custom case. It's always nice. So we're looking at £1,500 for that, 3,000 Aussie. So if you ever wanted a Matrix 6, I still think Matrix 6s have always been a reasonable buy from the Oberheim sort of series of stuff. There's people that would say...
Well, I have the rack version.
Yeah, people would say bad things about them. I don't think they're that bad. This is a cheaper one. Let's get the photo up of that. Still the same thing, just doesn't come with a custom case. All right. So if you're in the market for Matrix 6, they're pretty good. These, by the way, none of these are scammy prices. These are I just find them interesting, and that's it. So yeah, 2 Matrix 6s, a weird Chiet Lombard, Volca Kick, an SH01A Boutique, or a Moog. Which one would you get?
Oh, I'm curious about that. Oh, what was it? That Lombard.
The Chiet
really,
Lombard.
What does it sound like? What? Yeah.
Yeah, I wish he did a... Does he do anything on the listing? No, I can't see... There's no links. No, there's no links on here.
Full of that type of thing. It's going to definitely... Some people going, what?
I'll just show it to you again.
I mean, are those all like pins that you connect via like crocodile clips or anything, or is it?
Yeah, or maybe. Yeah, they're definitely. You can see in the soldering there, they're definitely connected. There's like little brass connection points.
Yeah, that's something sort of Solmar, isn't it? It's not just. Yeah, bizarre. I'd like to know what it sounds like.
Yeah. Andy,
if it actually makes a sound.
You gonna get that, mate? That's definitely up your alley.
Actually, I would like a Coco Quantus. If you ever seen one of those, they sound amazing for sample manipulation and stuff. Ben Divkid loves his. So
1,300
like the name,
Aussie
anyway,
is under £1,000, under $1,000 US too. It's probably $900-800 US. So it's,
can you post a link in the chat? I would like to check it, and then I can ask a friend who may know something about it.
I will post a link. Yeah.
I will not get the answer today, so it will be for later.
That's okay. I will post a link for you. Copy. And these links will be on the show notes anyway, but this takes you to Reverb. There you go. Link there. Does that work? Let me click on it. Yep. Link works. Good. Haven't taken it in my private bank account. I'm always worried about like pasting a link in chat on YouTube, like accidentally, pasting the wrong thing. Okay.
The last adult site you went to?
Yeah, something really embarrassing.
Oops, wrong site.
I use a different computer for that. No, just kidding. Okay.
Don't give all these secrets away, Rans.
All right. Why don't we quickly check the chats, because they might have said something about the Chiet Lombard. No, nothing. Would Wagoo know anything about it? Why is there a no? It's got to be powered by something, Wagoo. Come on, you should know better. Buy it now, OnlyFans page. Exactly. All right. Why don't we hit this button, because everyone's been waiting for this. Yes. Name your synth. Name that synth. Name a synth. Okay. Rules. Listen to the little segment that's about to come up. It'll be visualizing something, but most importantly, listen with your ears. Tell everyone to go out of the room, put some headphones on, get yourself all hyped. One guess only, please. First guess, if you're doing multiples, is your actual guess. I'm going to give you 30 seconds after the video pauses, and then after that, I'll say time is up, and then that's it. Now, if you do happen to guess it correctly, the first person that is, you will get yourself a copy of the Plugin Guru Unity software. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit about that afterwards. But I thought maybe what we'll do is we'll go straight into, you know, playing the video and get everyone sort of excited, and we just don't play it quick enough. So let's play it. Here we go, people. Ready? Guesses, go. Put your guesses in, you got 30 seconds to go. Time is up. Yeah, I mentioned, I said Unity, didn't I? I should have said Unify, sorry. Getting old and my brain becomes muddled up. Try and do this show, people. Just you try and do it. No, who did get it? Well, we don't know yet because I actually haven't watched it yet. Now, I will reveal to you that the author of this video was none other than Makeshifter, who's in the chat. He's awesome at doing these. These videos are getting better and better each time, mate. So definitely really cool. Let's check out what it was, what it is, and what it will be. There you go, Korg NS5R. Jeez. Oh, what have we got here, people? Has anyone guessed that? Let's have a look in the chat. Ooh, I don't think anyone's got this. We've got...
Yeah, but late.
Late, yeah. Yeah, we can't take it. It's too late. Ooh. Yeah. Korg N5. Not quite close enough. What's the closest thing to a Korg? It's really just like a little MIDI, general MIDI player, isn't it? Who got that? Culture of Ghosts. Should we give it to him?
Now, the thing is, you see, when you type in time's up, there's still 4 seconds playing on the video, actually still going out.
Yeah, that could be possible. But generally, the Internet of Things, if I type something and they see it, then if they type something and they see it after I've typed it, then it's already been and gone. So it should be, the chat generally is pretty accurately live. All right, we'll give it to him. Culture of Ghosts, you can have it. You can win this week. I reckon it was pretty damn close. So Culture of Ghosts, send me your contact information. You've got yourself a copy of Plugin Guru. I'm going to show you guys what we're talking about too, by the way, because it does take a few weeks to get this to you. So don't you know, if you don't have it and you've won it a few weeks ago, you can always email them. But let's have a look at Plugin Guru's website. Now, where's my button gone? There. So he's got a sale on at the moment, which I probably should mention before we go anything. He's got the Rocktober sale, which is 40% off libraries, which is good. And what we're talking about is Unify, which I accidentally said Unity. Don't know why. Brain fade. Anyway, if you're wondering what this is, it's worth $79 US. There's also libraries that come with this as well. And it helps you with managing and helping with, with your VSTs and creating libraries, and you could create like a single synth voice from multiple VSTs and recall it. It's really a good system. Anyway, so that is what you've got. Culture of Ghosts. Let us know your contact information. Culture of Ghosts. I'll just quickly highlight his name in chat. Culture, if he's still there. Unify. There we go. Put that into chat. Well done. It's always good to have a winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, they say in the classics, don't they? Do you guys used to have that saying, or was that just an Australian saying? Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
No, we haven't.
Charlie Sheen revamped it. So.
Oh, okay. So you go to those old-fashioned, that have like a chook raffle or something, at a pub. And, they'd have this in the UK, don't they, Darren? Chook raffles in the pub? You could win a meat tray or a chook
raffle.
Yeah, they called them chook raffles. You could win a meat tray or
we don't call them chuck raffles. Or
yeah, I think that's an Australian.
Chucks.
That's an Australianism. Yeah. Anyway.
We do have that type of thing.
Yeah, that's where the winner chicken dinner came from, because you'd win a chicken dinner, basically. You'd win a whole chicken, and you go home and have to cook it. Wasn't too bad. But Unify is definitely not a chicken dinner. It's a bit better than that. And hopefully, we haven't heard back from Culture of Ghost yet. Oh, there we go. He's mentioned.
Yeah, I think so.
There we go. Hooray! Kent's joined us. Hello, Kent. Hope you're feeling better, bud. A few people feeling a bit poorly. Is that because it's a change of season thing happening over in the UK? I get hay fever.
It's getting cooler, isn't it?
Like Brooksy, I get hay fever here because we have a lot of pollen in the spring.
Yeah,
I'm going through spring here.
But we're going past that.
You're going the other way. You're going autumn.
Now, so.
Yeah, but if you've got those town trees everywhere, right? With those little fluffy balls on them, and they cause in autumn. They cause all sorts of allergy stuff. Cool. Right. What did we get to? All the segments done. Done. Shooting. What were we going to do? We were going to talk about something at the end of it, and I forget. Someone I said let's talk about it afterwards. It might have been you, Henrik.
Yes, it was about the holes in the I can't pronounce it right. The metal Roland synthesizer, the English synthesizer. Yeah, because last time we talked about holes in the plate for a model, and a Eurorack model, and what was under, if it was for some adjustments, and what kind of adjustments. And on the malevolent synthesizer, the first revisions didn't have it, but the current revision has it. There are some holes just above the 1 volt per octave input, I think, input. I think it's about something for adjusting the VCOs. I'm just not sure what it exactly is. And whenever I see such things on devices, I always wonder, and I always need to know what it's for. So if anyone knows what it's for on that synthesizer, please say it in the chat or here.
Yeah. Have you got the synth, Henrik? Have you got that?
No. No,
You're just wondering about it.
because it may be in the manual.
It
but I
ripped
don't
it
know.
apart to find out what they were.
What's it called again? Manifescent, isn't it? Manifescent.
The male Volant, and the company name is 3 letters. I think it's PWM.
Having
male
shown
Roland
or
is
wish to
one
do
word.
evil to others. Great name for a synth. 1PWM, is that the name of the company?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the synth that you're talking about. And do they have any pictures of it? Here
And
we
there
go.
you don't see them. You don't see the holes there.
Oh, there's a couple of little holes
If
here.
Okay, I haven't seen those, but there should also be some on just above
And here as well.
the 1 volt per octave on each oscillator, the lower left input.
You
There
can't
should
see
be
it.
one just
Yeah,
about 11 o'clock about that.
Yeah, you can't see that.
Try to find a video where there you can see it. For example, search for Syndat and male Volant. Then you'll find a video where you see those holes.
Why is that not letting me look at it full screen? Hang on. let's
Oh,
go
you can
back.
see it there.
Yeah, so there's the hole there.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the hole for?
think
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, maybe it might
always
tell
get
us.
curious when I hidden things.
Maybe it might tell us. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Let's go back to the website. Full specifications. Does it have a user manual? No, not yet. But let's have a look at the specs.
No, I think I have been looking there.
Is that it there? Hang on.
No, that's the input, and
90
the hole is
inputs for
above it.
3.
There's a shape control pulse width modulation input. There's 2 frequency modulation inputs.
Yeah, but I think it's more tweaking things or setup thing for the first time use or something like that. I think we should download the manual and see it.
Yeah, that's good. I'll go and see if they've got the manual in here.
But it's not that important. It was just I was just wondering.
Yeah.
So it's like when I was a child, if there was a hole in a socket on the wall, it should be investigated.
Here's the manual here. So that's the hole there where my mouse is wiggling around, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing labeled on it here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. There's not really anything labeled on it at all. That manual is very light on as well. Yeah. Let's see if the chatties have said anything, because they might have been throwing their synth at the screen and it's going to be making this sound because it's so cheesy to show. And has anyone said anything in chat?
Mike Shift is asking if we're talking about a trim pot. I think so, but we're not sure.
Well, it could be. You could be, shove a long head screwdriver down there, and there might be a trim pot just inside that hole where you can adjust the tuning or something. That definitely could be what's happening. I did get a question too from Kosh. How do you feel about its MIDI clock stability? About the MRCC is what he's asking me. There it is there, the MRCC, well, in all its dusty glory. It does get dusty in Australia, if you're wondering. The stable of the MIDI clock. I don't have an issue with it because I don't generally use any internal clock on it at all. Although I have heard good things about its MIDI clock being quite stable. So that would have to be a question for someone else who uses it. So just to sort of qualify that, I have Ableton Link here. So basically that's my MIDI clock. And as a result, everything gets launched from Ableton, which I think is kind of a fairly sort of sensible thing to do. And when it comes to MIDI, everything is clocked from Ableton to the MRCC and then out. So I find it to be very stable as a result. And I'll show you that in a sec. But in Eurorack land, I use the FH2 module to come out into the PAMs, and PAMs then does control voltage. So basically Ableton is my clock, and Ableton is a pretty decent clock. And I'm sure people would probably argue that it may not be.
When was the last time you used the 2600, man?
Yesterday. Yeah. I use it all the time.
I've always had problems with MIDI clock.
There's the Ableton link there up the top hand corner.
And when I need something with MIDI clock, I usually clock it and record it into the DAW, and then I work with it within the DAW instead of trying to synchronize a lot of instruments. So I take a few instruments at the time and make sure they are in sync, and then work with it as audio tracks in the DAW. Because there will always be something that goes wrong when connecting a lot of MIDI devices and using clock and thinking that it can be synced all of it. It can't. That's my experience.
Yeah. I think, we talked about clocks. We did a master clock show. Go look on the channel. There's a master clock show. I think we covered it really, really well. I think clocking your setup can be a frustrating thing when you're kind of not sure how you want to clock it, because sometimes we have gear and we just know, okay, so what am I going to choose as my master clock? Okay, if I'm going to choose that, then what problems then is going to change from that being the master clock? And then some of us go through a few sort of versions of how we clock things. And I kind of felt, Darren's probably the same, I kind of felt that if I clock something from a computer, it's got to be pretty stable, unless you've got a pretty crap computer. It's got to be pretty stable. I mean, I've got an M1 Mac here, and I have not had any issues with it, with the clock. And like I said, PAMs on my Eurorack, I could turn that into a master clock and have that sync to Ableton. If I wanted, I could have it the other way around. I could have PAMs being the master clock, and PAMs is a pretty decent master clock as well. I don't know if I would ever have the MRCC as my master clock, because I just don't feel that in my setup here that's the central point for me, because I kind of feel like that's a router, so that's routing hardware that I use, and you can see on that part of the room there's a whole bunch of MIDI connected gear. So for me, the more important stuff that needs to be clocked has to be sort of in the box. So it's really going to be up to you, I think. Yeah, and
the problem is, what if you want to use the gear in a different way next time you make a song? Then you have to disconnect everything again and again. So it's easier, at least for me, to work with it where I take one keyboard at a time and record it into the DAW. About that, I actually often make the songs with only VSTs, and then I replace some of the instruments afterwards. So therefore, I know what the result will be when I connect things.
See, so some of the other clock issues aren't to do with MIDI either. Some of the clock issues you might have might be to do with hardware, audio. And if you're routing, so your MIDI might be working fine, but you're blaming MIDI, but it could actually be the audio coming back through into your mixer or your audio interface, and then you're thinking that it's MIDI that's the issue, when really it's an audio latency from your audio interface or your mixer. And I solved a lot of that problem by using ADAT. And I know ADAT is a really old, antiquated form of connecting audio, but it solved two problems for me. Number one is got rid of any ground loop noise issues I had with connecting gear up from various different parts of this studio. And then the other thing that it solved is I can run pretty decent length ADAT cables around here. It doesn't get any crosstalk because it's fiber optic, right? So it doesn't get RF interference, it doesn't have electrical interference, it doesn't have impedance, it doesn't have resistance, none of that. So when you're talking about 48K sample rate, which I think is pretty reasonable for me, that's all I need, I think it's fine. And that's probably why I don't get latency. So when people say, oh, my setup, I don't have a problem, you have to kind of dig more. Like, okay, so I have a problem and you don't, why is that? And it might be something completely different. Like I said, it might be your audio interface, it might be hardware, it might be you got a problem with your computer. If you're using your computer, it might be an issue if you're using Windows or Mac, or you got an old Mac, you know what I mean? Like there's so many things it could be. And the easiest thing to do is just to sort of strip it back, like what Henrik said, is strip it back and think to yourself, what am I going to be mostly using as a central hub? And then from that point, if that's going to be your main thing that you're always going to be launching from, so in my case, Ableton Live, then that should be your master clock. That would be my opinion. What would you say about that, Andy? Because I know you've got different opinions sometimes about this.
My only real MIDI issues ever have been just chaining too many things too far down the line. So if you do the traditional MIDI in, out, through between a bunch of different keyboards, you're eventually just going to, through basic physics, you're going to basically get too much latency. So I got on the through box and merge box thing quite a while ago, especially with the hardware jam stuff, where I wanted to have a bunch of stuff running at the same time. And then there's no more issue. Because I'm mostly out of the box majority of the time. So I don't have any latency going between computers and stuff like that. Or if I do, it's all feeding in from like a through box or some kind of a merge situation. But yeah, doing the old school way of chaining all your cables between stuff, it's quite an adventure. So. Yeah.
The other side of that, Andy, could be that you may find that some synths chain really well, and you probably find that you could chain quite a lot of them.
That too. It's like SCSI, right? There's voodoo and everything. So you never know what you're going to get, which order it should be in, which should be the through, which should be the starter, all that stuff. So.
Yeah, I kind of think that there's a thing. Well, there's definitely a thing. It's not. I kind of think there's a thing. It's like as if there's like a mysterious beast in our synths. No, there's definitely a thing where some synths have a true through, which is basically just an electrical through. In other words, the connection of the in is then passed directly electrically wired to the through connection on the back of the synth. And others have a software through. So you'll find that the back of your synth, and I'll give you an example of what this is like in a minute, where you'll find that the back of your synth only has an in and an out, but you can go into the menu of that synth and system section.
Out/through on the port.
And you can change it to a through. And that will be a soft through. In other words, it has to actually like handle the data in itself and then push it back out through. So you actually are going to get a latency in those situations. Because I don't think they can.
You also have to be careful too, because if you want to use an arpeggiator, you have to make sure it sends it through the chain properly. It's not just on the box. That happens sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So you should be looking at things like that. I mean, guys have been talking in here about using ERM multi-clock, which I think was one of the major suggestions that we had on our master clock show. I've seen some of those go cheap lately on various Facebook selling groups and things like that. Yeah? What do you got there? A box. Oh, tea. I thought you were going to show me this is my clock solution.
This is how I run my clock.
That's hilarious. Just have a cup of tea. That will solve everything.
MIDI ports on the back.
Plugs it into his beard. There was something that we showed recently, wasn't there, where it was like a Kickstarter, and I think they finished it too. It was some sort of little MIDI box thing. Do you guys remember that? It wasn't that long ago.
Oh yeah, with the red LEDs.
Yeah. I wonder if I could find it quickly.
It's like a MIDI PAL kind of, sort of, but more limited.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it in this second that I'm going to have to do it. Where's my search box gone? What would it have been called?
The
MIDI,
main focus was for getting all your hardware synced together, I think.
MIDI clock, maybe? Nah.
I actually was on the Kickstarter, but I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I've forgotten what it was too. Ah, bugger. I do remember it being not that long ago. Someone in the chat will remember what it was. It was like a tiny little MIDI box. It was a Kickstarter, and it had a you could use it as a clock solution. And I wish I could remember what it was because I'd be able to point him to that. There's also that the Blockhouse one. That's not too bad. Do you swear by that? Henrik, do you swear by? You're muted, by the way.
What did you say?
As the Blockhouse, do you swear by that as a MIDI clock?
I've just got it a few months ago. I haven't used it yet, but I know I will use it at some time.
Yep.
But not yet. I was thinking of doing some doorless jams, but I really hate when others are doing them. so I shouldn't be doing them myself. But that was the idea when I purchased it. But it will be a good tool sometimes when I have some problems or when I want to tweak some MIDI. That's what it's for.
Midronome is the thing I was thinking of. Midronome. Was that what you were thinking of, Andy? Midronome?
Yeah, that's what I just put in. I put in the chat already.
Oh, did you? I wasn't even looking at the chat. Yeah. Let's get a photo of it up. Save image as. Have you got the link in there, or do you want me to put the link in there? I'll put the link in there. Okay, so this is the thing that we were talking about. I don't know how good these are, by the way, because I haven't actually checked them out. So we could be... but it was a relatively small little device, and you can see that you can actually set this thing as your master clock and start and stop things from it. You can also start and stop via MIDI start-stop control as well, by the way. Where is the link to this thing? It did have an Ableton link thing in it. No, it didn't have an Ableton link thing. That was the only thing I didn't like about it. That's right. The fundraising has closed for this, but I need to get to their website. Where was their website? Not the Kickstarter. Midronome. Yeah, just midronome.com. Jeez, I like it when things are simple like that. Come on. Internet's not working. Has the show stopped? Website's not loading. It's just midronome.com. And I need to take that off so you guys can yeah, it's better. Midronome.com. So you saw that. I can just type it in here. Midronome.com. There you go. Go there. Check that out. It was relatively inexpensive, wasn't it? It was only a couple of $100.
Yeah, it was pretty cheap.
Yeah. Coming in October. There you go. I don't think you can quite order them yet. I think they've paused ordering, but go check out midronome.com. Oh, the website's working. Good.
Synth Anatomy had a nice little write-up on it. So
yeah. Yeah, we gave it a bit of a plug, definitely. One of the things I was worried about though with it was the simplicity of it, because sometimes when you get something that's simple like that, you may want it to do, like I find those ERMs really good. The other thing too, if you're playing in Eurorack land, Pamela's new workout is an amazing stable clock. So you could use that as a stable clock. You get the little, you know how it's got the little extender panels that you can get for it? There's one called the PX2, which is one I've got. And the PX2 has a TRS MIDI out on it, and so that you can use that to drive all your MIDI connections to it, which I've got here.
I have the bigger one that has the sync and the MIDI out.
Yep.
as well as the 4 extra ports for clocking.
Yeah. I didn't need to do that. I've got the I can just have a look. Because I've got the Dope clock divider next to it. And then I've got that, and then I've got because I use the run start stop features of that, which is not on the other panel. And the reason why you need that is because I've got a Metropolis sequencer. And it needs the run start stop because it's got, in the Metropolis, you've actually got 2 CV connections for starting and stopping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Which
My
also...
biggest complaint is the Rams has the worst screen on it. It's so dim.
Yeah, it is a bit dim, isn't it?
And there's no way to make it brighter.
Nah. I don't mind it. I've got a light just above mine, though. You probably see it
No,
here.
but it's LEDs. It should have plenty of light, right?
You can see
Look
it there.
The disting. The disting is plenty bright. It should be like that.
Or the FH2, you can see it a lot brighter, right? That's the FH2 there, screen, which is the same as the disting screen. And then that.
Yeah, we can't see the PAMs.
Yeah, it's not the brightest thing, right?
In fact, it don't look like it's on to me from here.
Yeah, it is, but it's
That's
just
the problem. It's really dim. Yeah, it's just...
Even if you shine light into it, it doesn't make it any better. If I turn the light off, maybe. I don't know. There you go. Turn the light off.
I can see it now, yeah.
When I need to clock something in Eurorack, I use the NerdSec because I can program the clock exactly as a node, exactly as I want to. So that's a really good clock generator, besides being a sequencer.
I mean, I think clocking and what's it called, transport, tend to be the 2 things that, you know, should be the dead given, right? So that little metronome has both the clocking and the transport in it. But I actually love to have like a toolkit. So if you're going to have, if you want to have like a hardware master clock device, one of the things I liked about the Acme one that was there, that was really cool. What was that called? Acme something or other. It was like a four channel clock gate, and you could clock divide each of the 4 channels independently, and it didn't interfere with the master clock. And those sort of cool features like that are kind of some of the things that a lot of like DJ performers who use, you know, some interesting sort of polyrhythmic sort of techniques in their setups, like those sort of features, you know, which is one of the reasons why I like PAMs, because you can do clock divisions and clock multipliers in it, and also you can do things like phasing on your beat. So you could have anything from 0 to 50% phased on your clock beat, and that becomes really interesting. So you have stuff that's literally like 20% off phase with your beating, and it would just do that. If you do the maths, right, eventually it will catch up to a point where the beat will kick in nicely, but it just goes off on weird tangents. And doing stuff like that is really good fun to have those sort of tools on your clock. Yeah, Pat's got the name of it, the SND Acme 4. Really expensive bit of gear, but I thought one of those things was pretty cool for MIDI, that is, though. I think it did have a little bit of CV on it as well. Roland did one as well, didn't they? They did the SBX something, SBX1 or something it was, which was actually
SPX,
pretty.
yeah, I have one. It's the IRA series.
It was a pretty reasonable clock thing on that, from what people said. Do you still have yours?
Still in the box, actually. I haven't used it yet.
You can get some serious dollars. Seriously, you can get some serious dollars for those now, because Roland don't make them
Well,
anymore.
I got it to actually mix things together that I eventually didn't need to do, but it's on the list of something to experiment with. But yeah, no, they don't make them anymore. They're
Yeah.
hard to get.
And the good thing about
There's
those,
an older version too. It was before IRA, but I forgot the name of it. But it's another SBX type.
yeah, they updated it for the IRA and it was based on the older version. But the decent thing about the IRA version is that they still kept the DIN sync stuff on there. So you could have all the old TR-808 gear, sync that up. They had MIDI, and it also had CV connectivity on it as well. Which for Roland, that was pretty sort of far out. Like for them, when you think about when that came out, that would have been 2015. A lot of us forget how quickly we have like literally moved in the last 5 to 7 years in music gear. We've gone in that last, probably since 2013, we've gone from a very, very small amount of analog synths that you could get to an absolute revolution of homecoming of analog synths again, to the point now where you would say that the analog synth market is saturated again. We're definitely chuffed for choice, right? You'd say there's beautiful poly analog synths now. There's, plenty of mono analog synths. And Eurorack has gone absolutely gangbusters. And now, so manufacturers are now, because they're aware that musicians are in all of those little corners, right? So when they make gear with CV connectivity again. Like, when was the last time you saw gear with CV, other than Moog, right, with their Voyagers and stuff like that? When was the last time you saw gear with CV connectivity, other than probably the last 5 years? It was almost unheard of, wasn't it? It was either MIDI or that was it. You had Korg with their little clock sync thing, which was more just for the Volkers, right? And that was probably about it.
There's also the retro kits, RK006. It's like the MIDI hub, but it's with mini jacks, so you can configure the ports as DIN sync or MIDI or anything else. It's also a very interesting MIDI tool for clocking and tweaking your MIDI.
Yeah, they make good stuff. I had the programmable MIDI cable for the Volca.
Yeah, and there's also some tools for the Digitact, so you can do some patch changing and stuff like that using this hub.
You notice that comment there from Mac about sample accurate sync, which is something that you can do, with synchronization with your PC. So there's also that. We did talk about that. I think we talked about that. I don't know if we talked about it or maybe Mac talked about it in the chat, but I'm pretty sure I remember talking about it. I can't really remember a lot about it though, to be honest, because I don't think I used it much myself. So yeah, Overbridge was another one that you could do for syncing. Yeah, there was that Overbridge USB thing that they made, wasn't it? Electron made that sort of USB hub thing. Yeah. One of the things that it was almost like voodoo magic for me was when Overbridge first came out. I had hang on a sec, got a cough. I had the Electron Analog 4. This is the desktop, groove box. I've still got it, and I've plugged this in. This is when Overbridge was in its beta, right? And I've plugged this in to my DAW, and all of a sudden I'm seeing all the controls. Obviously, that was fairly obvious they're going to do that, but also the audio and the MIDI. It was all like literally, completely what you're doing in the box compared to what you're doing on the screen. Is happening straight away in the actual device itself, and it was incredible. The only thing that disappointed me about Overbridge was they never really kind of pushed it to the Octatrack, and especially when I got the Octatrack Mark II, I thought, oh yeah, they'll definitely do it for that, and they never did, and I don't know why. Someone might be able to tell me, but yeah, Overbridge is awesome, and I wish Electron would actually make more gear that isn't just grooveboxy. Like I actually think they had a crack at making a keyboard synth, the Analog 4, but it was kind of really just the Analog 4 box with a keyboard on it.
Yeah, analog keys. I have that. It's nice.
Yeah. But I reckon they should have a crack at actually making a proper poly synth or something, because they've got some really, really cool stuff and development, you know. I know it's kind of not their world.
The funky digitone keys, which is kind of like the old
it was a bit weird
analog synth when they had the side-by-side keyboard.
Yeah, it was like a digitone,
People
and then they
complained
whacked
about
the
this,
keyboard.
Why'd you shape it like that? He goes, "Oh, it's meant for 2 players."
What?
All right.
What's a someone on the digitone and someone on the keyboard?
Someone tweaking it and someone playing it. So
Yeah. That's just gonna end up in fights, isn't it?
Had it been that Austrian company with the ugly design earlier, then the keyboard would have been on the backside, so it was for 2 players. Turned around.
Go easy. But with that, you can just imagine like 2 blokes, right? One guy's twiddling with the digitone knobs and, you know, trying to get everything right, and there's another guy mucking around on the keys, and then he's just not doing what the other guy wants him to do, and so they're out the back of the pub, you know, fisting it at each other. I could just see it. It's a bit like the old days when you had the drummer and the guitarist, and they just didn't agree with each other about the tempo or something. Concert fisties. Have you guys seen that? There was a really viral, meme video that went around where the guitarist completely just clobbered the drummer, like he just smashed into him. I think it was in the UK, Darren. I think it was, it was probably within the last 2 years. He just smashed into it, like he just completely lost it. Yeah, it was pretty bad, actually. It's probably been banned, that video. Yeah, it just reminds me. Sometimes don't play next to your mates. Sometimes it's not a good idea. So they're talking about overbridge in chat. I sort of thought that's why I thought I'd bring it up, because I thought it was definitely a good suggestion.
Did you need that special overbridge hub, or would any USB hub work? I never understood that.
Well, that was the thing. I thought any USB hub would work, because overbridge,
right?
Yeah, because overbridge was kind of more. That was one of their selling points. They were saying, well, the USB connectivity to our devices is class compliant, blah, 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 right? So why wouldn't it? You'd be able to use any if it's class compliant, yeah? I think it was more that you're kind of, it's a bit like when you buy a car and, you can get the car brand floor mats or you can get the cheap ones from, I don't know, whatever, Kmart or whatever you want to call it. Right? You probably don't want to get those. Especially if you're in a Lamborghini, and you've just gone down to the local shop and picked up your Moog 1, and you've got Kmart floor mats in the bottom of it, Yeah.
Isn't it the opposite, I think, of the cheap car with the many instruments? Now a Lamborghini, wouldn't he buy a Volga?
Volga Geek. Put it on the front seat. I did do a meme with the Lamborghini. I just can't remember what it was about now. It was definitely about something that was like ridiculously expensive. And I was probably just taking a bit of a stab at the price of something. Knowing me, you know what I'm like. Anyway, anyone want to bring anything else up? Because I think we could wrap the show up.
I think we said it early on, actually.
Yeah, all plugs have been given. Yeah, Andy, you haven't plugged your little. Let's plug Andy's little YouTube channel, because this is pretty cool, right? So he's got this. I gotta get it up. Is it? How do I get to it?
I have some music stuff. I have a microscope channel.
No, the microscope one. Yeah, the microscope one's cool. How do I get to it? What's the easiest way to get to it?
Micro Addict.
That's right, Micro Addict.
The produced videos actually have music I made for it. The live streams, I'm using a generative music because I can't be bothered to make 4 hours of ambient music. So.
Yeah, you were using some app before, weren't you? What was that app you were using?
A couple of different live stream apps you can use, but the teaser actually has music I made for it. But a few of the shorter videos that are produced actually have music I made. as well. But the live streams is no way I'm going to do that.
So when do you do this, Andy? When is this kind of usually you're streaming live? Because I caught up with you. One was like a work day for me.
I haven't picked a proper time. I kind of just do it when I feel like it. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, for some people, I've been starting like around, after work, like 6 o'clock my time, 7 o'clock my time, which is often quite late for UK folks. But a few people jump in there. I see Paul Artola in there from the East Coast. A couple, even Rich Hilton jumped in one time, was chatting about some stuff.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I'm trying to get a better schedule so more people can join live if they want to. But of course they're up there perpetually. So if you want to just watch them, like I said, the live stuff is just I pick a ambient generator like one called Black Hole, a couple other ones out there, and then I tweak some of the settings and just let it run. That particular video, the launch video, is actually all done with the Wave Station AD with a looper, so just a live layering thingy.
Okay, cool, really good.
But
it kind of reminds me.
It's a lot of fun.
It reminds me of this.
Oh,
I don't know why. Yeah. It just I don't know why. It just for some reason it reminds me of that, and that's a massive compliment, by the way, because he was an incredible musician.
Yeah, it's I mix it up. I have a dissecting scope for macro stuff, and then a compound scope for all the micro stuff. So I usually I change it up during the stream, so it's not just the same crap over and over again. And the last couple streams actually had some really interesting. If you want to see some kind of bleak but interesting life, cell death and cell just destruction, where basically the cell stops pumping its contractile vacuole, it's died, and eventually the water makes it explode.
Yeah, we saw
fairly
that
dramatic. Yeah, on
the one you showed that I watched, the natural death of that was good actually.
Oh, it's nuts. I mean, yeah, it's really wild. And then you get at the same time you get the drying of the cell, the wavefront of water as the cell is as the slide is drying up from evaporation.
Yeah,
and a big wave sometimes comes through and just destroys everything in one pass.
Yeah, and here we are at our macro life with the micro lives happening all around us. We didn't even know. And I think the cool thing about it is you get to sort of chill out and watch a bit of that. And I think what's interesting is, when you're doing this, you're talking about the microscopic side of stuff. So it's the technical nerdiness of that is actually cool, but there's some really cool conversations going on in chat at the same time. So it's definitely worth that.
I've chucked the link. Music stuff usually in the chat.
Yeah. I've chucked the link in the YouTube channel chat now, so you guys can go subscribe to that. Definitely worth checking it out. I think we're going to finish it up, guys. Yep. Thanks for everyone for joining us. We didn't do the live cross to Synth Fest because no one rang me. So that didn't happen. And I'm sure we'll find out why that.
They've probably got. They're miles away then, probably.
Yeah.
They're too much.
I'll try to join from Synthplex at the end of the month, so you can get a little live feed there.
You should be able to. Like, it's a relatively small connection that you need to actually make these video calls work.
Right.
Anyway, we shall finish the show. Enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. Make sure you press record. Before I'm going to say goodbye, I am definitely going to be doing this and saying a massive thank you to our patrons and our channel members. And also our sponsor for Name That Synth, which was Plugin Guru. Congratulations to Culture of Ghosts, who won this week. And on that note, we're going to say goodbye. Bye, everyone. Enjoy your week.
Bye-bye.
Backwards
Press record.
tomorrow. Video. Take care.